Thank you. I can copy that for
Huh? No, you ain't.
Okay.
Maybe 7:50.
See, that will help me
Thank you
remember.
for some bad.
We-
Then I just do the first one.
Wait, no, I didn't. Let's say we got two.
Oh, you mean that,
Chair. Okay, we're ready.
okay, we'll get. Also order the, West Camp Community Development Area Community Advisory Committee on September 16, 2025, at 5:30, Hill Education Foundation, 2206 North Palmer Avenue, Tampa, facility. Call the order, Mrs. Thorough, can you give a roll call so we can see if you got a floor?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, as I call your name, if you could say here, Joe Robinson,
Here.
Carlos Ramirez, Michael Gracia,
Here.
Janice Williams. Here. Bobby Wilson,
Here.
Jeanette LaRussa Fenton. Here. Cynthia Maloney. Here. Delphine Jones. Here. Tina Young. And David Alonia. Chair, you have a form.
Yes, I'm gonna say a privilege. Should we have a long agenda, we have a number that we'll have to leave, but I think you still will have a quorum. So I wanna switch around a couple of things. One is the alley is gonna be an issue. There's gonna be some talking. So what I wanna do, we have a guest today, Mrs. Kimberly Hinder. And she was here to talk about the West Tampa Historic Cultural Resources Study kickoff. So what I want to do is switch B and C around. So we'll let her go as B and then C would be West Tampa Alley Action Plan for Fourth of Amendment chapter to the morning. Okay, so with that said, we will go to public comment. We use about 3 minutes for public comment if you're in the audience, or if you're online. If you say your name.
Vice Chair.
Thank you. Vice Chair, Carlos Ramirez is just arrived, so show that he's present. Ms. Riggs is also present as well, and Mr. Bobby Wilson. Okay, so if you have public comment, you have 3 minutes. If not, anyone in the audience want to have comments for 3 minutes? Okay, is anyone online? Right now, they're online?
No. You know, what you can.
Okay, all right, but let's move on. So it's for public comment. We have the August 19, 2025 meeting minutes. They were sent out previously to the meeting and I'll entertain a motion for approval. You ready?
Move approval.
Is there a second? All right, now discussion, Ms. Williams. You use the mic that left hand can talk to you.
Sorry, yeah.
So I just wanted to know, was that fixed? Is this fish is absent?
Yes, so in the minutes, I added a line that said this waives the budget for absence from the meeting be excused. That's from August 19th.
Okay, great. Thank
Yeah,
you so much.
thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye. All opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Right, along presentation, we'll now have, our new TPD captain, Dan Thomas, will come forward. And I explained to Mr. Collins that everyone that's ever came here is always promoted when they come here. We have a lot of captains, when they come here, I feel about 4 or 5, they all get promoted. So Mr. Collins is here. The floor is yours, sir.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here. I'm excited to be here. It took me a few minutes to get here, since my transfer. No promotions in line for me, sir. I'll most likely retire as a captain from the Tampa Police Department, which I'm ecstatic about. I've achieved more than I ever thought I could in my career. Just a little quick background about me. I started my career up north in New Jersey about 37 years ago. We moved to Florida, my wife and I, in the mid-90s. Worked for a medium-sized sheriff's office. So I started a small department, medium-sized department, and in 2007, I received employment with the Tampa Police Department. So small, medium, large. So I think I have a good round turn on the community and issues that they they face. Just recently transferred to District 1 from District 3, so very fortunate. I've been able to work with Ms. Thrower over the past 2 years. Part of the areas I have responsibility for were Ybor City, downtown, Channel District, Water Street, Palmetto Beach, everything all the way out to Brandon and Tampa Heights. So it's a pretty large area. So we've had a great working relationship. Ms. Thrower, from the first day, made sure that I had a really good understanding of CRAs and how they function, because it's not something we deal with every day as an administrator. I feel very comfortable now with the knowledge that she's provided and working with the CRAs and those other areas that I mentioned that have a pretty good understanding. And I have other administrators actually come to me and ask questions because if you don't deal with it and you've never dealt with it in your career, you truly don't understand it. And the lines are blurred at times. And I'm really not, as long as you sit down and you read the statute and what you can do, and what you can't do, and the intent. So I'm very in tune with how the CACs function. I'm here for you guys. I'm here to answer questions. The one word of caution I will give you is that I'm transparent with you. It may not be an answer that people may want to hear when you ask me a question, but I'm going to give you an answer. I'm going to give you, I'll be professional, but I'd be doing an injustice if I stood up here and gave false information or tried to kind of just divert your attention away from the actual question. That's probably one of my faults, is that when you ask me a question, I give you an answer. And I've noticed that, like in politics, we don't always do that, right? And if I don't know the answer, I'm going to get it. So that being said, what questions do you have for me?
You have a contact number
I do,
that you will get willing to give out?
yes.
Okay.
It's 813-363-3843.
Is that 3843?
Yes. If I don't answer right away, it's either I don't recognize the number, I'm already in line, or,
Just leave a message.
yeah, and I'll get right back. And it's taxable to you, it's taxed.
Ms. Fenton?
What are you seeing as the worst hotspots and the biggest issues and challenges in the West Tampa area?
So I can say, and I'm not minimizing it, right? The area I came from was very labor intensive. There was a lot of demands on my schedule, our services. Coming over to West Tampa, I don't see that, and that's a relief. But what that also gives me the ability is to dig deeper. You know, I was dealing with things in District 3 that, okay, let me solve this problem because I got 3 other problems I got to deal with. Because of, I don't want to say the condition, because of how West Tampa is so well run right now. It offers me the time to dig deeper and ask more questions. I also recognize that West Tampa is growing. You know, you have West River that's expanding by the day. The population, Publix is open now. Main Street, I think Main Street, just my personal opinion, Dan College and Captain College is up and coming area where it's ripe for development. So there's going to be additional resources there. So I, as a district captain, have to look at what do I have available to me? Where's the demand? Where can we do better? You know, as law enforcement crime data, I think West Tampa is in really good shape compared to other parts of the city and other parts of the state, but it doesn't mean that there's room for improvement. So where do I allocate resources to address rising concerns? And again, for me, the biggest concern I know right now for me is expansion of West Tampa. It's growing. More people are moving in. The landscape is changing. North Lower Homes is not there anymore. You know, the last time I worked District 1 in West Tampa, Lower Homes was there. It's not there anymore. That's great. I didn't realize that. My son, well, he's older now, I was in college, but when he played baseball, we played here in Tampa. And we go to the batting cages over there, off the road. You know, that I'm like, that opened my eyes to the growth, and that was several years ago. And to see where it is now, it's changing. So I have to make sure that the Tampa Police Department has the resources we need for West Tampa. And that means advocating on your behalf to my chain of command. You know, and to do it responsibly as well. Like I can't go in there, pound my fist on a desk and say I need more people without validating that demand signal. But with the growth, I think that it's easier to do than just an opinion. But if that answers your question, okay.
Anyone else? If not, officer comments, captain comments, thank you very much.
Happy to be here. Mr. Orders, how to get hold of me?
Welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here, excited. Even people I work with, I've seen it change in me, like, you look happier, like I am. I'm very happy. And I'm excited to be working with Slower again, because we had a great working relationship in District 3. Again, I'm just a phone call text away, so it's never hard. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving right on, that will then take us to West Tampa Historic Cultural Resources Study Kickoff with Mrs. Kimberly Hinder from CAC. So you have the mic.
Presentation. Yeah, okay. Bring it around. Okay. Yeah. Here we go. Okay.
All right, my name is Kim Hinder. I'm a senior architectural historian with CAC, and we've been hired by the city to work on the West Tampa CRA Historic Cultural Resources Study. So I'm just here tonight to introduce the project to you guys, to kind of go through the goals and methodology, the schedule. Another hand. All right.
No, I can flip it for the ball.
All right, I think I can do that. Okay, anyway, I want to go through the goals, the methodology for the project and solicit your input on the historic sites. So the main goal of the project is to survey the historic resources built before 1934 within the CRA. The period of significance for the National Register districts ends in 1934, so that was selected as the cutoff date for our survey. Another goal is to reassess the contributing or non-contributing buildings within the district. So basically to get a current stance of what's historic, what's contributing, and what's non-contributing. So the first step. Okay, well, there we go. So the first step is really to identify and map the resources constructed through 1933 within the CRA district boundary. So we consulted the Hillsborough County property appraisers records through GIS to determine what buildings were built in 1934 or earlier. And then we also consulted the State Historic Preservation Office records, the Florida Master Site file, to see what has been previously reported. So we put that information together. We are going to record both the previously unidentified and the previously recorded. We're going to survey all of those. And it's kind of hard to tell, but there is a boundary of the CRA up here, and all the buildings, properties that have historic buildings are highlighted in green. And those are the buildings that we're going to be surveying. And it's roughly 545 buildings. So the next step will involve going to each property and doing a field survey. So going to each historic building, taking pictures from the right of way, gathering detailed information on the architectural style and any notable features, and also conducting historic research on the buildings. We've already started the historic research to develop a historic context, and the historic field work is going to be starting in a couple weeks, starting in October. We will be preparing the Florida Master Site forms after the field work, and then we will be putting it all together into a report that we are planning to have have finalized in April of next year. So if you have any historic information, any questions, you can reach out to me. I have some of my cards with me. My colleague, Lucy Jones, is going to be working on this as well. Her email is up there. Or Dennis Hernandez, he's with the city. You can reach out to any of us if you have any questions.
Anybody have any questions here?
What's the number of buildings you trouble with?
545.
I have a few questions, okay? I was involved in Max in the eighties. And we were sad, so restored this area. And I know we have a map, because we're a national historic district. And so if you take, you're not looking at the whole national historic district, you're just gonna overlay community, CRA boundaries. It's all we're staying within, because that's all that money can say for, right?
Right.
So you got the map of the historic, the historic district, and then you got the CRA, which is in, I don't know if it covers all of the CRA sits in the historic district.
I don't believe it does. I think the boundaries are not contiguous.
Okay.
And so this grant covers the CRA
And the
boundaries.
other maps that we use is the Sandboard map.
Right,
But when they used to have fires, you can have them for insurance purposes.
right. We'll be.
So you'll be looking at all of that. And so then, because I know the city has, if the house is over 50 years old, you may knock it down without going through historic preservation and get approval.
Right, we're gonna be working with the city on the survey and identifying those.
But West Tampa, a lot of wood frame over the house. And, I'm a historic, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
You know, and I'm a historic preservationist. We involved with the National Trust for Historic Preservation back in the eighties. Remember Saul, which gave us a generally, talking about historic preservation. So I think it's what we're concerned about, like I said, for the record, is that there's so much development that is coming in the West Hampton. And all of the demolition that we've seen and the some people say gentrification going on, that we feel this sprung up is because we feel that we're going to lose our historic strategy contributing structures. Probably not the main structure, but the contributing structure. This is one of the most significant structures that's the since your data scan. 1917. So we just feel that we want to get a handle on it. So we say, hey, listen, can't knock everything down. And I'm quite sure your founder will let us know what percentage of the loss of contributing structures would then trigger us to not have the historic districts. I think Eagle City has the same issue that they're concerned about. If you start going up too high, if you let the height change so too high, you're not going to have to maintain the historic district. So we're not local, we're just the national.
Right.
Okay, all right, that's all I got. Mr. Bruce, see it.
I'm curious as to what, I mean, obviously we want to have an understanding of what contributing structures we have, how many, but what is the ultimate goal? And the reason I ask is I'm trying to, I know that there's two sides, that obviously we need to protect the history and the fabric of this community, right? As a historic neighborhood. But on the other side, whenever things like this start occurring, then it becomes really, really, really tough to do simple things on historic structures, which then leads them to fall into disrepair. Because if things become too expensive to maintain, if they become too difficult to obtain proper permits for, then people do nothing. And I'm sure many of you could point to many structures around that have fallen into disrepair as a result of that.
Okay, no, that needs to be microphone.
I'm sorry.
People can't hear.
Okay. I want to repeat all this.
Please do. Thank you.
Okay, so the question I had was the ultimate goal of what we are doing when we're taking this inventory of historic structures, and the reason is to find out where does it draw the line? Is it going to eventually, by identifying these things, put a set of regulations that makes it difficult to do just consistent repair and maintenance of some of these structures? And that sometimes is the net result, it's an unintended consequence. You want to protect the structure, but when you protect the structure, you put a whole lot of rules on that structure. And a lot of folks can afford to put a certain casement window or keep, another type of historic feature on there because it's too expensive, whether it be their home, their business. In the past, the city has tried to make the cigar factories historic. The owners of the cigar factory got together and they all sued the city of Tampa. John Grantoff was the attorney, and the city backed off because they were running businesses in the cigar factories. And they said, I can't wait 6 months and have to ask 100 people if I have to put a window in to keep the rain from raining in my building. And that was the argument. And maybe it's a different time now, but I think it still holds true that there is a concern as you start putting too many protections on, does it have a negative, negative result at the back end?
That only happens if it's locally designated. This survey is merely an inventory with forms that are going to be filed at the state, identifying what is historic. It's not going to impose any regulation or change anything. It's not going to change the boundaries of the National Register District at this point. It's not going to, basically, it's a basic inventory with a list of historic buildings and which ones are important to you.
Yeah, and let me just, for historical reasons, I was here.
Yeah.
That's why we never have a local historic district on this town. We had 4 people around Hampton, okay? And we said we cannot be local because we can't go get cypress windows. We can't go get all that stuff that costs a lot of money. And so we felt that 4 people need to be able to, repair their homes without having to go through the headache of the going through the historical preservation. And so we decided not to have a local district. What we opted to do was to have a overlay district. And the overlay district picked up some of the architectural features, the slopes of the roofs, the setbacks, the front porches, salient things like that, that kept some type of the historical context of the area. So that's how we were able to address it. Until this day, there's been people who still go local, but so much a lot of people don't because maybe not get back and it's a cost of the industry under farming.
Something else we did with the overlay, when we did recent changes, I got about 5 years ago, we were trying to incorporate some of the historic buildings on the trail, and the city was not agreement with adding those to the overlay, because it, putting up costs, but we did want to know what buildings are contributing, that way we can see where there's a plan or a program that we can do with the CRA funding to bring some of those buildings back from disrepair. Or I think something that we had earlier on was knowing which buildings are contributing, maybe if there's a way we can make it look historic without using historic materials or methods that would keep that historic look without the expense and time for it.
Jared, we have a speaking problem. They can't hear anything. I don't know.
You hear that?
So if y'all just try to talk as loud, I'm not sure. But sorry, we're trying to make.
It's the room. No, acoustic.
The room. Well, I can't do anything about that.
It's louder.
I'm gonna talk. Wait, a minute, here we go. Thank you.
You all did okay with the mic. It's this last man that spoke up that didn't.
Yeah, so. There you go now.
Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah, we have to turn it up.
You all did well on this one.
Okay, thank you.
I think this is better. Thank you, right?
Okay.
Really helpful.
Yeah, and I'm all for identifying contributing structures so we can possibly get some funding for it since we got housing here tonight. All right,
And it would be a voluntary program.
Yeah.
We do something with-
not mandatory at all.
How is that related to just a quick sample environment?
Microphone.
We were speaking earlier, is there going to be any designation that is based on, you said anything prior to 1935?
No, the grant only covers up to 1934.
Okay,
So we aren't surveying anything built after that, and I know you have a lot of resources, and maybe that'll be a recommendation, but.
no, I was just curious. A lot of because West Tampa was annexed in 1925, a lot of the years you will see on the tax rolls show 1925 as the year built. It is not actual. Some of them are earlier than that, but it seems like those will all be grouped in, so.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, now, that takes us to the West Tampa Alley Action Plan, final report from Hannah Schaefer, Kimberly Horn. Is Ms. Schaefer here?
Yes.
Yes, she is. I think I remember you. Give her a mic, please. Ms. Brother, can you give her a mic? Okay, thank you. Oh, before she starts, let the record reflect that Dave Agonia and Ms. Tina Young are here. You ready? Job was good.
Dr. George. Somebody's got someone up there. Okay. Yeah, this is a little hard to juggle.
That's not that.
Are we ready? Are we ready, Ms. Brewer?
Yes, we are ready. Thank you. Okay, well, first, can everyone hear me okay? Is this a good volume? Want to make sure. Yes. Awesome. Bryce, did you want to say anything or?
Good evening, everybody. Bryce Beringer with your Tampa CRA staff. This is going to be the final presentation of the West Tampa Alleyway Action Plan. This is the conclusion of the nearly 2-year long project that was prompted by this committee. First, to create just an inventory of the alleyways, and after further discussions, there was a lot of discussion that really reflected the need to improve the alleyways. So Kimley Horn is here. They're going to do their final presentation. And then we also invited any of the property owners that are adjacent to the top 3 priority alleyways to this meeting. So if there's any questions, certainly feel free to let us know. But otherwise, I will go ahead and turn it over to Kimley Horn.
Okay, thanks for that, Bryce. So just out of curiosity, who is here because they received the mailer that they live or own property adjacent to one of the priority alleyways? Anyone by chance? And also out of curiosity, whose first time is it hearing anything about the West Tampa Alleyways plan? Is there any new faces? Okay. Right, that'll help me as I go into explanations. So we've been to the CAC meetings previously throughout this project. We had started this over 2.5 years ago. So I won't go into a lot of detail about things, but if you all have questions at the end, we're happy to explain more and answer questions. So if there's anything you're curious about and feel like you didn't hear enough, please ask at the end. So tonight, really just want to go over what the purpose of the project is, our schedule and the tasks that are part of the project. And then the main focus tonight is really those pilot project alleyways, and then the next steps for bringing those into implementation. So we'll spend a lot of time on that. All right, so the project purpose is to develop a long-term vision for the alleyways in the West Tampa CRA, and also update policies like the Land Development Code and Transportation Technical Manual to be consistent and more easy to read, and provide some actionable recommendations by the city, the CRA, the CAC, and even residents as well. So this project, like I said, kicked off in spring of 2023. And then following that, we did a pretty exhaustive inventory of all of the non-vacated alleyways within the West Tampa CRA. So there totaled about 140 non-vacated alleyways, and the alleyways that were vacated and we were able to access. And if you, we tried to inventory those as well as best we could without encroaching on private property. And from that, it really told us where to go with our recommendations and potential improvements for the future of the alleyways in the CRA. And then that is all developed in the West Tampa Alleyway Action Plan, where all these recommendations and improvements live. And alongside of that, we have been conducting the code and transportation technical manual updates as well, but that is running alongside separately. And then about last year at this time, we initiated pilot project concepts. So we developed 10 pilot project concepts for the top alleyways within the CRA to focus on implementation. So we'll be talking about those 3 pilot projects later in the presentation. So some key takeaways from the alleyway inventory that we conducted a couple of years ago is that the majority of the historic alleyway network is intact. And we found that the majority of the alleyways appear to be clear. So you can see the green on that map are alleyways that we identified as clear, meaning that there is no permanent structure that is blocking those alleyways. So there were cases where there was overgrown landscaping, some debris. I think we found a hot tub in one of the alleyways. So all things that, yes, are blocking the alleyway, but can be easily removed and are not a more permanent fixture. For the semi-obstructed alleyways, we identified those as maybe there's a grand tree or some more significant landscaping that is partially blocking the alleyway so that a vehicle would not be able to pass through. And then fully obstructed meant there was a building, a fence, or something completely blocking the alleyway that even a pedestrian would be able to get through. So that's how we identified the conditions. If you want to save your question to the end, we can come back to this. So that's how we identified the existing conditions. So it's more of a point in time, because I'm sure if we went out today, the alleyways are going to look a lot different. And based on our inventory and research looking at the historic plat data, we did find that the majority of alleyways are platted to be 14 feet wide. So that was the average width of the alleyways within the CRA, which helped influence our recommendations and typologies for the alleyways moving forward. So from this, we developed 3 main alleyway typologies for the West Tampa CRA. Commercial, residential, and non-motorized. And this was based off of our existing conditions inventory. And you can see the commercial alleyways tend to be a little bit larger, have commercial uses adjacent to them. The residential alleyways, primarily residential single-family uses, a little bit more narrow. And then the non-motorized alleys, this picture is of one that runs parallel to the interstate. Not used for vehicular access because they might be too narrow or just not usable for that. So this is an example where it's a walking path for pedestrians and bicyclists. And within these typologies, we identified appropriate improvements and recommendations. So some improvements may apply to some typologies, not for the others. For example, some surface treatments may be appropriate for residential alleys, but are not appropriate for commercial alleyways. So we've identified that in the action plan, as well as other recommendations that could occur outside of public right-of-way, like wall murals, for example, lighting, things that can also be implemented in alleys that could be up to the private property owner adjacent to the alley. So from here, we want to improve all the alleys. Ideally, we could do them all. But I don't think anyone here has $25 million to do so. So we had to start somewhere. So we developed a prioritization criteria through the community engagement process and through the data we received to determine where to start with these alleyway improvements. So we came to the CAC a little over a year ago with our top priority alleyways, where we then narrowed it down to about 10 top alleyways, and then from there reached these 3 pilot project alleyways. And that's where we're at now. So the full prioritization criteria is explained and listed in the alleyway action plan, if you're curious for more information. And as I mentioned, all of this lives within the alleyway action plan, along with a table of recommendations, short, intermediate, and long-term solutions that can be conducted by the city, the CRA, the CAC, even private property owners, businesses, and community members as well. And as I mentioned, alongside the alleyway action plan are policy updates to the West Tampa overlay code, which the city is currently reviewing and will incorporate into their larger land development code at a later date, as well as the transportation technical manual recommendations as well. So tonight, what we really want to focus on are these pilot projects and these concepts. So as I mentioned, the top 10 alleyways that we identified here at the CAC are shown in blue, and then the 3 that we further identified for pilot projects are shown with that black box around it. You can see how the prioritization criteria matches up for each of the alleyways. So that's how we got to this point in the project. And generally, the pilot project recommendations and concepts include new pavement, additional lighting throughout the alley, new driveway aprons into and within the alleyway as well. So the first pilot project we're going to talk about tonight is what we're calling alleyway 1720. And this one is located off of Main Street between Howard and Albany. And this is one of the commercial alleyways. And you can see in the concept image to the right, we're recommending either brick pavers or some asphalt pavement throughout the alleyway, so it's improved and consistent. Additional lighting, so partnering with Tico to implement that, and also, vegetation maintenance and debris cleanup. And this is also an alleyway that we identified where, after securing a permit, you could close off the alley temporarily for special events to help out those businesses and other uses along the alley. So that's kind of what we're showing in this image. So it will still be open to vehicular traffic. There's even trash collection, I believe, on this alley as well. So that is just a temporary use that was specifically asked for through our community engagement with those businesses along that alleyway. And if anyone knows who owns this building here, I think this would be a really good location for a mural. So that's an opportunity for private development as well. You can even see on this building, they already have their own lighting that goes into the alley. So that's something that is recommended into the plan as well, but is up to the private property owner. The next pilot project is just moving east. So creating that continuous alleyway network, which we hope will spur more in the future, is alleyway 1725. Very similar concept with ideally the brick or asphalt pavement throughout, additional lighting, vegetation, and debris cleanup as well. And the third and final pilot project is 1825, or what we're calling the post office alleyway. So this is the alleyway adjacent to the post office. This is identified as a residential typology because it is primarily residential uses adjacent to it, even though you do have some commercial uses at the ends of the alley. So there are existing driveways already off of this alley, so making sure that those are tied into the new pavement, asphalt, additional lighting throughout, and vegetation and debris cleanup. And part of this, part of the concepts, we develop planning level costs to understand how much they'll cost, how it can be built into the CRA's budget, or even partnering, whether it's the city or through grant opportunities to see when these can be implemented. And throughout this project, I think it became really clear that a lot of people really didn't know who was supposed to maintain the alleyway. So wanted to provide, some guidance, and this is located in the final action plan as well. It is up to the property owner to maintain the alley from the width of your property to the center line of the alley. And that's something that just hasn't been made clear, I think. So getting the word out on that. But there's also other things community members can do. You know, you might be sitting here like, okay, I don't have $25 million to improve the alleys, or I don't work for the city, so how can I help? The CAC already does alleyway cleanups, so participating in those, reporting illegal dumping that you see on the alleys, and connecting with the city to, make sure that you are, you know, maintain your alley correctly. If you have questions on how you should maintain. And the next steps in this isn't going to be the last time, you know, you hear about the alleyways or the code or technical manual updates. So that'll be the next step for the city, is understanding how to bring those into the larger land development code update. And then the next steps for the CRA will be to implement the pilot projects and programming those improvements into the budget. And with that, we can take some questions or comments from the CAC.
Okay. Here's gonna have some order here, okay, because I know this is an interesting subject. What I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna take comments from the committee first. And then I'm gonna take comments from the audience after. Is everybody okay with that? Is that consensus on that? Okay, did you have your hand up? Or did I see Jeanette at the corner of my eye?
Well, you saw Cynthia first.
Okay. Ms. Finn.
Cynthia was
I
first.
look this way. Who had it? Was it you, Mr. Morris? Okay.
Get the mic.
I just wondered why there's no, have you run this by sustainability, and why all of the surfaces aren't permeable or at least semi-permeable? Like, I know the asphalt is cheaper, easier to maintain, perhaps, but from an environmental standpoint, it's a bad idea. So we have a chance to do things right. Let's not have unintended negative consequences with the heat island effect that we have.
Yeah, I totally understand. And that is an option in the alleyway typologies of surface treatments, is permeable pavers or a compacted surface that isn't asphalt. So if it is, you know, the wishes, we could explore that option as well.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Ms. Finn?
I'm thinking in terms of where do we go from here? Because I'm assuming your end of the project ends with the plan. And then we have to implement the plan. And I'm expecting, for instance, we'll need community meetings and public engagement and all kinds of things to implement. So does that become another project we have to put on the list?
Well, we have 3 projects that we have to put on the list. Those 3 alleyways.
Well,
Those are the pilots.
right.
Before we go wholesale with anything, we gotta get these pilots to work out, do we need permeable, blocks of concrete? You know, are we gonna take care of? Can I get back there? Yeah, from this study, they've identified 3 projects. And 3 projects are those 3 alleyways. So that's what we need to implement next. In the meantime, the city's gonna be working on all those recommendations and all those things she was saying that's in that plan. As far as going to landfill or whatever they're gonna be doing, you know, over there. But our mission is to get these pilot projects, take a look at these 3 pilot projects and see how far we wanna go with them, or if we wanna go with them at all. So that's what we decided when they came with 10, and we moved it down. We want to have the commercial one that was on Main. We had the commercial bits there. Yes, we had 2 commercial, and they said we wanted 1 residential. So we did the one between Union and Chestnut to have a residential model. So that's what we'll be trying to implement.
That, right, now that's gonna require the community engagement and all kinds
Yes,
of
it's
things.
a capital improvement project.
But But all the other stuff, you're saying, well, the city's gonna be doing that. Are they, or are they gonna wait for us to, that's what I'm saying, I don't know that the city's just gonna be doing that until they,
Well, I mean, if the city's gonna adopt the land use plan, it's gonna have to have public comment.
Okay.
But we'll hear from the city, introduce yourself.
Evan Johnson, City Planning. Yeah, so as far as the two parts, the CIP projects obviously are in the court of the CAC and the CRA to decide how they want to implement. As far as the code goes, we, during the master plan or the alley action plan project, one of the tasks that Kimberly Moore did have was try to come up with some ideas as to how we might implement the code. Of course, this project is 2 years old, and a lot of that was done based on our current code. And we are in the process of completely overhauling our land development code and zoning. And so right now, what we're trying to do is come up with the best language and the best standards that make the most sense internally. And then at that point, we want to be able to move those ideas forward as part of the code update. That's how it currently stands. So if there is a process, and there is something in process now that we could actually, grab onto and bring it in to that, because the West Tampa overlay, I'm sure, there'll be multiple discussions about that as it moves forward. But yeah, that's our intent at this point, is to kind of work out the details while we have the time, and then kind of move those forward with the code update. But as we have publicly public recommendations or, specific standards, we of course would love to come back and talk to you all about this, and show you what came out.
are you all gonna be working on
No,
just,
oh yeah, you're moving.
I'm used to being too loud. Not loud enough.
Be loud.
Be loud. Are you working on alleyway improvements or alleyway policy for the rest of the city outside of the West Tampa CRA?
We
Or
are,
the parts of West Tampa that are not within the CRA?
I would say it is our hope that ultimately the process, a lot of the pieces of the process that was undertaken in West Tampa can be utilized elsewhere. Ultimately, I think if we get the code language right and the technical standards right, it seems like they could be applied elsewhere. Obviously, West Tampa is a community where there's been a long history of utilizing alleys. And surprisingly, while there are lots of alleys elsewhere, we probably have the most robust network here in West Tampa, in the city, outside of maybe Hyde Park. And those are already kind of built up and all, paved and so forth. So yeah, I think it's a model, and I think that was always the intent. And I know that there's been some discussion about looking at East Tampa, the CRA parts of it. Yeah, the process is there, and I think what we learned from it can be applied.
So there's some consistency and.
Ultimately, that would be the goal, right? Because, and I think that's something that I know our code consultant is looking at more generally between the different overlays. If you think about the overlays in the code, they all were adopted at different times for different reasons. And they all make a lot of sense for their communities, but there's a lot of inconsistent language and inconsistent, ways we talk about things. And so that's a lot of what they're going to be doing, is cleaning all that up so it makes sense across the city.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Ms. Young.
My question circles around the cost. For instance, alleyway 1725, the estimate goes from 467,000 to over $1 million. So in general, what would influence the cost?
Yeah, so the range is based on the type of pavement. So the lower end is asphalt pavement, the higher end are those brick permeable pavers. So, to your point, if it is the priority of you all to, go that route, it will have a higher cost. So, that's where that number comes from, that range.
Got it, Ms. Young?
Yes, thank
Anyone else? You already speak, man. We got one round, I think we'll go around again. Mr. Ramirez and then Mr. Pursuit.
Mr. Larry?
Yeah.
We good? All right. Okay. All right. Great. Betty, thank you so much for all the work. I was out there one of the days you guys were doing the inventory, it was very hot. I appreciate you guys doing all that work. I just want a couple of clarifications, if you don't mind. You're saying here that there's some clear, semi-obstructed, and fully obstructed. And I believe you said clear, we're good, you can go apart with it, not a problem.
I wouldn't say without a problem. So since it is a snapshot in time, we identified clear as, you know, if this were mowed, if some debris was removed, if the minor landscaping was addressed, you could drive a car through here based on with any, you know, height obstructions, it would be clear. But as we know, alleyways can grow very quickly. People will dump things overnight. So we didn't want to identify anything that is temporary or easily removed as an obstruction, since those things can go away.
So it's not something like a tree growing in the light, or fully obstructed or something.
Yeah, correct. Mhm.
Now, as we kept going, we were talking about residential, commercial, and,
Vehicular.
thank you. For the residential, what does that mean? Does that mean it's drivable?
Yes, so these would be recommended improvements for the alleyway typology. So the residential typology has recommended minimum right-of-way widths, recommended certain pavement types, and other improvements that you could do on those alleys. So they are intended to be used and drivable.
Is there a map identifying which ones are residential? And
Yes. Yes, so in the final plan, we have, I believe this was maybe in like a previous presentation, but we do have a map of all the alleyway typologies on. And I think to your point, so because it's identified as residential, that doesn't indicate that it's being used today or can be used today. We have oodles of data from our inventory that we can, you know, send that information to you of which alleyways we know are being used today, or are not being used today.
Okay, so these typologies are not tied to clear, semi-obstructed.
Correct. This is the future vision and is tied to potential improvements.
And what was the percentage of clear alleyways that you found?
Based on the conditions, it was about 81% of were clear. We did find that the majority of them, I believe it was around the same number, about 80% did need some minor improvements to become usable and drivable.
Regarding the changes to the code and the technical manual, I saw the typical that you had in your draft for the report. Those have already gone through engineering to review.
Yes, City of Tampa engineering staff has reviewed the typicals that are in the report here. And I know I can probably speak to this. That would be something that would be included in the TTM at a later time. But for our purposes, that's what we're indicating for improvements and as a model for someone who might be redoing an alleyway.
Do you have any questions?
No, I would just add that, two things. One is, yes, engineering did look at the typical standards that are in the alley action plan. Would say that, we're in the process now of working with our mobility team, including engineering. As we talk through the actual changes to the technical manual. So I won't say that those will be exactly 100%. It all depends on how, you know, with our back and forth and other considerations that they want to make as it relates to land development. But those are good standards, to start with. And ultimately, as we go into a little bit more of the nitty-gritty with them, there will be we've got to do some re-education with some of our staff, because there's some turnover over there as well. So we'll be doing a lot of that in the coming weeks and months. But I think we've got a good template again to work with.
Those of you who are not very technical, the engineering drawings that they provided would solve and answer a lot of the questions that a lot of us have regarding drainage You know, if you improve the alleys, that water then goes to the public gate and so on. So it also has convertible and movable options. So all those things are doing, I thought it was very thorough, so thank you. And then the last thing I have, is there a copy of the draft language you had that you gave into Jonathan for the code, and is it which section of the code?
Yeah, so I'm trying to think on the numbers, so forgive me. It was the West Tampa overlay, I believe that's chapter 27. 27. And then, I believe chapter 22 was another one that we touched. And then there might have been one more, but I can't remember.
I think those two, chapter 22, chapter 27-441, which is your overlay. And then a technical manual, which is outside the code, but is where kind of the engineering standards live. So those, there are recommendations on it.
So section 26 to 83 was not touched.
Now you're gonna make me know what 26 is. Which one is that?
That's the one I'm talking about, you were bringing out.
Not this time, but again, we're meeting with engineering, so they question. Oh, sorry. The question was whether or not we had touched section 26-283,
26-2.
which has to do with maneuvering your car in the right of way. And the answer is just that we have not changed or made a recommendation to change that section of the code yet. But it could be something that as we move forward gets recommended. So that was a question for clarification.
And when are the recommendations for this?
At this time, we don't really have a set schedule for those changes. And the reason is because, as I mentioned earlier, we're in the process of going through our first major deliverable of the land development code update for the city. That's a citywide update. So as that's kind of our first piece, and that doesn't include any changes to the overlay or any recommended changes to the overlay. That comes next. So right now we're trying to figure out that schedule. But I'm more than willing to provide an update to Brenda and Bryce to make sure that you guys are keeping informed. We certainly will let you know as soon as we have an idea as to when those standards are being discussed more openly or whatever.
Okay, Mr. Rustia.
I'm curious how much, consideration went into, I'm thinking more long-term, as we look at these different alleyway types, different things that are in the, within each alleyway, trees and things like that. For instance, an asphalt alleyway, I would think, is obviously not very beautiful, also doesn't hold up well against things that create tannic acid and running acorns and leaves and things like that, tends to break down. But are we looking at this as just an initial cost, or was some thought given to this is going to be an actual kind of 10-year cost, 15-year cost? What is the cost to maintain? You know, what is this going to look like? And the stamped concrete products, for instance, can last 20, 25 years as compared to, you know, brick pavers, which look great, but they require periodic maintenance every 5 years, repacking, same things like that. I mean, did they look at a long-term cost on this, or?
No long-term costs or maintenance were developed, so this is just initial cost of redoing the alleyway today.
Okay, so just upfront cost, got it.
I'm gonna let you go for
I have one.
Okay, hold on. Let's do that. Let's go on.
Here you go.
There we go.
I think, Michael had just asked a question related to, Benton, so, thank you for asking that. Subsequent to that, things happen in that. So will there be camera, what is the security measure? They'll post cameras down to monitor activities with the camera.
I don't believe we have any recommendations for installing cameras. I know there's, I'm sure privacy issues with that. But we do have other recommendations that will help bring more eyes to the alley, like the lighting, for example, partnering with T-Code to make sure the alleys are more well lit. having alleyways that have more activation towards them, especially in those commercial areas, will also help deter any, unsafe activity. So being able to activate the alleys is really important too, but, we haven't looked at any camera installations. That's certainly something a private property owner could look into, but, as far as public safety, I think it's, partnering with, the police department to report any issues and monitoring, regular updates. And like I said, those lighting recommendations, I think will be a good start.
Yeah, utilize the lighting, security, are you going to be seeking for, participation to utilize, setback principle?
Yes, yeah, so we, took into consideration that, principles while we're developing the alleyway concepts as well. And, I believe, the city is adhering to those and, their code updates as well in terms of, fences. You don't want areas where people can hide out. So all those are considered. We didn't update anything in terms of like landscape code or anything like that, where it would be applied, but I'm sure the city incorporates those as well.
And, I'm gonna let you go. And people, I gotta keep the mic so I can keep control. You're good, Mike. And, okay.
Thank you. How long have you been working on this? 2 years?
2.5 years,
2.5
yes,
years.
2023.
Has anyone reached out to the businesses? And have they been favorably, do they see that this is gonna help them? When we don't have sidewalks, so people can't walk, to the front door, we've got to make the back door nice. I don't know. Have they, and also property owners, like residential property owners, have they been checked with, and are they in favor of this idea?
Yeah, so we've had a pretty good, robust engagement process throughout. We've had stakeholder meetings, with the business community. We even talked to the chamber, I believe it was last year, and talked them through all these alleyway concepts and asked for their input. And generally, the feedback we've received from the business community is excitement, especially for those alleyways along Main Street, really strong support. They're really interested in having, temporary events in the alley and having an extended space back there. So they've been really supportive. We had a community workshop in January 2024 that was well attended. So we're able to hear from community members. And that's when we really learned that a lot of people aren't even aware that, one, they might not know they have an alley, and two, that they're supposed to maintain it. And then we've heard a lot about the public safety. So we have received resident input as well.
Okay, and then has this community been tapped to help maintain this space going forward? The businesses, or, has anyone been asked to chip in?
Not monetarily right now, but I don't know, Bryce, if you have anything you want to add to that.
I don't have anything really to add to that point. I think one of the things that we've discovered during this project is that there is a need for education and outreach for folks, because the majority of business owners and residents aren't aware of the fact that they're ultimately the ones responsible for maintenance. So even with that being considered, all of the feedback that we've gotten from the businesses has been positive. And I wasn't with the CRA when they did the residential outreach, but I would assume it was positive as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll add that within that alleyway action plan, we have several recommendations for the city or CRA to explore some funding partnership opportunities, or getting more businesses or community members involved, or setting up some sort of fund to fund, alleyway improvements or just maintenance, especially for residents who might not be physically able to maintain their alley or economically able to maintain their alley. So looking at strategies like that is identified in the plan as well.
Yeah, Ms. Maloney. Okay, I'm gonna say something. Okay. Here's what I think, okay? Having been here since 1962, and golf truck used to go down the alley. These alleys have changed in the last 60, 70 years. They came in the last 10 years. There is a hot, well, first of all, let's clarify this. We are only talking about adding to the CRA, so that's all that money can talk. If you go across a million, y'all didn't study that. If you go north of Plums Drive, you didn't study that. You only studied what's up on this map, right? Okay, so let's get that straight. Because there's people across a million talking about our study. Really and truly, I think the name of this study should not say West Tampa Alleys, it should say West Tampa CRA Alleys. That naming of West Tampa is a problem. It's a political problem. It's a communication problem. So I would suggest that the final of this be called the West Tampa CRA Alley Study and plan. Well, do not say West Tampa. You're gonna draw a lot of fire because I'm already hearing. That's the first thing. So let's name it what it should be. The West Tampa, should be paid for it anyway. The West Tampa CRA Alley plan. Now, so we got that one up today. The other thing is, my knowledge of that is that there's always below grade infrastructure. And these alleys in West Tampa run east-west, these ones I'm talking about, and there's a sewer pipe in. Okay? So one of the things with these alleys and talking about putting any kind of asphalt, sewer pipe breaking, you gotta dig up the asphalt, now we got patches everywhere. So one of the main things before I think any alley surface should improve is that there has to be a thorough vetting of the underground utility, period. How long has that pipe been there? Has that sewer pipe been there 20 years? Has it been there 5 years? Has it been there 50 years? You know, has it had a camera run down it just to see if there's been any kind of failure on it? So I think the low grade exploratory needs to be done before any areas improve, period, because it makes no sense. The city does the same problem, go out there and repair the road, and then they gotta go back and tear the road up, because they didn't take it up. But now with the new pipes, the way the man's thinking, we're taking care of underground first, and then we're gonna talk about the surface problem afterwards. So you wanna make sure that the underground, these alleys, is vetted, because I've had a couple of collapses around here. You know, right here. Next thing on these alleys, I agree with Mrs. Maloney over there about, permeability, that we need to make sure that we don't have a surface where you're gonna have the rumps, but the asphalt, they've got all kind of concrete now that's pervious and all this here. Over here on Beach Street, the crown of the alley is so high, it runs on my property and been eroded for the last 30 years. And when it rains, you can just sit there and there's a river flowing between my house and the next house, and that's how the water leaves the alley and comes to my sidewalk, and it gets on the sidewalk and it sits there because it doesn't drain to the street. So I had to cut a trench into the right of way and notch the curb so the water can get off the sidewalk so you can walk past. Because the alley is dumping all that water. And they got 500, 600,000 houses just built and they didn't do anything to solve the problem. Okay? That's another thing. There's crimes. Now, my question, can an alley be dead-ended? Is the definition of an alley entrance and exit, and I would turn around, because I have that situation in my action. It's not vacated, it's dead-ended because they added this addition to this building and it's dead-ended. So it's not an alley. Okay, and it's not vacated. Okay, but I'm maintaining, I just right the other day, go ride by, when you leave, everybody ride by, you see you can eat up, it looks like a natural barn out there, that's my alley. Okay, I cut my alley all the way from my property all the way up, 250 linear feet all the way down to me, clean, both sides. Weed today. Okay, so my concern is that originally some of the planning, the city showed these alleys erroneously vacated for decades. And on my taxes, it said I own half of the Button Alley, which was a lie. Okay, it was a lie. So, I'm about to tell the city I want my money back. But I maintain it, just like I have to maintain the alleys. I maintain my alley on any property I got in West Tampa. And I also maintain the right of way up front. It's not just the alleys that you're responsible. You gotta maintain the right of way up front of back of your property. Okay, nobody tell residents that, but I do it right there. You know, make a left turn around, turn on the street, scanning the house. You'll see I just finished it. That took me 3 days and some help to do it, but I did it because that's my exercise. So my thing is that on a dead end alley, if it's not an alley, it's only one way in and one way out. That should be, go ahead and vacate it by the city, not me go forward a vacation petition. The city can just go ahead and vacate that and give each person half of that alley. So we have to go pay for a vacation because it's dead ended, because they did it when they put that addition of this building right there, this building here. And they built it, that building over top of the sewer line. The sewer line, you ride down, you'll see wherever alley, you see a manhole right in the middle of the highway. Damn, I mean, as it crosses, but they did it that way. So, you know, those are my concerns. The last thing I'll say, I agree with my vice sheriff, that he's on the right track. He was so good around the county, so people are more this than me. But I hear from the people, and you know, we got people that they ain't finna mess with no alley. They gonna get out there like they weed, eat that thing down where, and then keep it mowed. That ain't gonna happen. That takes pride, that takes ownership. There's a lot of real property in West Tampa. We need to address that. Most of them, I'm gonna talk to Ms. B about this real property when she get up there. But the thing about it is that we need to, you know, you talk about, well, people buying, people ain't buying in because that's why we created a cleanup. Because ain't nobody finna go out there and do what I'm doing, voluntarily on all the whole block. Ain't gonna happen. If it was, we wouldn't need the cleanup. Ain't gonna happen. So we need to devise some type of, we may have to have a special assessment like they do for lighting. We might need to have a special assessment for alleys. So then somebody comes around and do it for us. And you just pay a little bit, everybody pays, it's like those, you know, they got the assessment for the street car. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about? You got the assessment for lights. If we really wanna get real, we'll have an assessment for alleys, right? I don't talk about something on their bill, they tax, but that's the way it's gonna end up looking to me, because you're gonna have all these different people that want something done. That's all I got. I think you did an excellent job, Kimberly Horn. I think you got us from just talking about it over the last 2 or 3 years to actually have a professional review, data, information. It's up to the city now to take all of that data and information and get it out there to the public and find out, because in my opinion is that this alley stuff is gonna be a case by case basis. When you come this way from Hyde Park, you know, on the other side, now you can walk down, you know, I go to gas and roll, you know, it's nice. You know, got vines, all that, everybody's taken care of, you know. You come down this way, we got drug dealing going on, we got running from police going on, we got people just throwing stuff out there because they ain't gonna pay to go take something to the dump, they just gonna dump it down here. So we got a lot more issues when you start going north of you know, Riverside, Kennedy. So that's my many comments I got, but I really appreciate you guys looking at this. And I still want this dead end thing. But you got a dead, an alley that was an entrance and exit, now it's dead in it because there's just no way to turn around, ain't no cul-de-sac, okay? And none of that, it should be an automatic city say, let's vacate and give it to the owners so they take care of it anyway. Okay? All right, but that's all I got, but I just want to thank y'all for this, and it's not over. So now we're gonna go to the audience. Yes, sir, give that man a mic, please, introduce yourself, your name, and ask your questions.
My name is George Vita,
No, Mr. Williams.
and what you're saying now applies to everyone else. I appreciate what you're saying about the alleyway, but I see the application of standards to the historic buildings. And you earlier mentioned about lowering the standards of historic buildings. I don't agree with that. There's a very good valued history in West Tampa. And you have said lowering the standard of historic buildings. One thing you never got to, how low are you going to go? Because if you go too low, you're going to ruin the history of West Tampa. And I'm against that. And I'm sure there's a lot of people against that. So I'd like to know one thing very simple right now. How low do you want to go when you change the standard?
Okay, well, I never said lower the standards of historic buildings.
No, wait a minute.
What I said was, Yeah, go ahead, but I didn't say that. You didn't say
Yes,
that.
you did.
No, I didn't say lower expense, I said that.
Yes, you did.
No, I did.
Yes, you did.
No, I did.
Yes, you did. You
I
said
said
you
that.
changed the outside of the building.
No.
You said you would change the outdoors of the building.
I said that we had never had a local
Let
historic.
me change, and,
Well, go ahead and finish, I'm not gonna get in debate with you.
you said you could change, you said you would change you would allow the changes, and they have changed the outside of the historic buildings. You already have said that. You have not said to what degree they can change. And I would like for you to explain the degree you want change. For example, right on Medill and Spruce, there were 5 or 6 houses built. They are so close together that it's, when people see them and they talk about them, they talk about them negatively. And they even talk about the way they impose on the sidewalk. Now, I don't mind hearing talk about change. But when I hear the word change, I like to hear the explanation of that change and the top of it and the bottom of it. You don't talk to the bottom of it. Please talk to the bottom of it, because there's some damn good history in West Tampa of the Spanish, Italian, the Black, of a lot of people, the Germans and everybody. And you know what? It affects all of us. And there's some of us that have pride in that history. And you know what? Those same people want to maintain that pride. And when you talk about change, you're going to change that pride. And I'm against that.
Okay, can I speak?
Yes, sir.
First of all, we're on 40 houses in the city of Tampa. And every one of them was almost historical, 1920s, 1930s. I own 5 wood frames right down here that are contributing structures, okay? I stay in the Scaggy house that was built in 1944, that really should be on the National Register. So I'm on historical preservations, okay? What I talked about was that when we were talking about making this, because I helped establish, I don't know where you was, but in 1980, I helped establish this to be a National Historic District with Jim, Jay, Abel, Joe Robinson, Stephanie Farrell were the originators. They got a book called The Black and White Study. I'm standing right there by this building here. I knew when Cuesta Ray was there before it got set on fire. Okay, Cuesta Ray sit-out practice, Cuesta Ray school over there, standing there, and it's called The Black and White Book. Look it up. Where we're talking about the West Tampa Revitalization Corporation, which was the first 501c3 non-profit organization for revitalization of West Tampa. So I have a long history of saving buildings in West Tampa. Or else I would have been knocked them down and built this $500,000 nonsense. What I said is that when we wanted to establish a national historic district, that we never went to a local historic district because it would cause Black folks and poor folks over here that own their wood frame houses to have to comply with the national historical standards, which are cypress windows and all that, which was extreme. And so the lady said that the only way you can control those type of amenities, and they have some lookalikes that are made out of power and all of that. But the thing is that if you're gonna make historical, like this building here needs some work on it, and it ain't been done. They need to put the balconies back up here that they ain't been done. They're supposed to be raising money here. This is case to put them back up. They ain't done it yet. All you see is a rebar up there. Okay, so they redid the windows somewhat, but they have not done this building justice. They tore up this building, had the ballroom back there, the theater destroyed. Now it just stores paperwork, items for schools. So I'm on historical preservation. So I'm not saying that not been destroy stuff. Now, I got houses right now. I'm trying to get this city to help me restore just like they are the wood side with the windows, with the tin roof. Okay? So I'm not about knocking stuff down and changing stuff and being historical, especially when I helped establish this historical district in 1980. That's why I know about the map. That's why I know about the Sanborn maps. Okay? So, no, I said that poor people that were staying around here, when we started talking about making this a local historic district like Ybor City, it was decided no, because we didn't want to put that hardship. And here's the thing, the city didn't have a program to help people fix their houses up if we was to make it historical, a local district. The city ain't got that. So where are these poor people gonna get this money to comply with these, national historical guidelines that you have to do on a national historic structure? A lot of these structures are not historical, they're contributing. This is a national, structure here, but some of these wood frames, they just contribute. So that's what I said.
Where do you stop? Where do people know that they, material that they cannot use? You're saying allow people to do the repair at something they can afford. Now, to me, things that people can afford are of all types. What types are they going to use? Are they going to, first of all, are they going to use something substantial?
Well, you get
That's the first question.
Well,
Are they going to use something
I gotta get my meeting
substantial?
going. Mr. Bowie, we got this offline out of here. I gave you enough time. As chair, I'm gonna stop it. And the thing about it is this. That's why we having this alley study. That's why the lady that came before them talked about, let's identify the contributing structures. Because I'm concerned at this committee is that they're getting demolished. Just look out the window. You see all these brand new $500,000 houses gentrifying the neighborhood. Ain't nobody can afford to stay here whatsoever. And they're knocking them down. And what we're trying to do is identify what we got inventory wise. And then maybe we might come up with a program to help fund to restore, which would then keep the fabric here, which would try to keep some of the culture here, which is steadily, slowly, but surely being demolished and being done away with.
I agree.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to talk to you.
Nicole Ansonis. Thank you for the study. Can you go back to the 3 projects that you picked out, some questions about the commercial?
The pilot project, sorry.
Yeah. What are the cross streets? Because these are 2 continuous sections, right?
Yes, so the first one is between Howard and Albany, and then it's the next block over, so Albany to, I think that's Fremont over there, yeah.
Yes, Fremont.
And the businesses that are on this alley, are they like restaurants or things where people walking along it could actually like stop and go into them?
Yeah, I believe there's a mixture of restaurants, there's offices, there's other, retail services. I think there might be some auto services along there as well.
Okay. And then, given that currently the responsibility for maintenance is on the owners, like for something like this, I really love the brick, but to the gentleman's point of long-term maintenance, what would be the responsibility of the commercial owners to maintain, like what would they be responsible for maintaining?
So, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as, you know, the pavement or the surface treatment, that is not up to the responsibility of the property owner to maintain. That would be something where the city would have to step in and improve that. But as far as, you know, keeping the alleyway clear of debris, overgrown vegetation, that's where the maintenance falls onto the property owner. It's very similar, like Mr. Robinson said about, you know, it's that the boulevard in front of your house between the road and the sidewalk, there's that patch of grass typically. It's very similar to that where, you know, if something major were to happen there, the city would have to step in and fix that. But as far as daily maintenance, that's up to the property owner.
Okay. And then on the residential one, I echo the sentiments here of the asphalt, you know, with the lack of trees in our area, the heat, you know, if you want to walk your dog, I mean, it would be unbearable. So I had looked at your plan online. I think there was one with concrete strips and then crushed gravel. I think something like that. Anything white would be better. And I think more usable for the community.
Okay. Yeah, you are correct. We have options for residential alleys to have ribbon pavement where it's essentially concrete tire tracks for vehicles, and in the center is typically a gravel, so that helps with stormwater drainage. And then we do have the option of high albedo concrete, which is the more like white reflective concrete, which would help with the heat island.
Hello, it's brief. My name is Caleb. Sorry, my name is Caleb. I will make this brief. On the page where it says, what can community members do? I saw that it said participate in neighborhood alleyway cleanup. I live here in West Tampa and I would be interested in doing something like that. What would be the process for that?
Brenda, have we ever had a neighborhood initiated cleanup project? I know that we've outsourced it before.
I don't know about.
Yeah.
Hey, I would recommend you go to your neighborhood association. Usually that's where the cleanup's been from. Bobby Wilson is the old West Tampa representative, so you can talk to him after the meeting. To answer the question, we did have a cleanup for all the neighborhoods had it on the same day. And kind of coordinated all that, so we all cleaned up the alleyways, the streets and everything, and don't have a little look out afterwards.
Okay, one more question.
It's Kevin Rowles. I do want to make one reference to Joe's discussion on the historical survey. Work in a lot of different municipalities, and one of the faults that I always run into is they go get all this information and it gets buried in the city somewhere, and then it doesn't get disseminated out into the public long-term where it can live in the same place all the time, and the people can use that as a reference. So I'll encourage you, whenever that study gets done, that it gets embedded in the proper place, and there's enough direction to get folks there, because if I understood that correctly, that study was to simply survey the contributing and non-contributing structures within the district. Is that correct? Not going to do anything, but just need to survey it. Having it surveyed is a tremendous boost right from the jump, because at least you understand what's contributing and what's not contributing. And I've dealt in other municipalities that handle it much better, and very typical what Tampa does with other municipalities, where it kind of gets buried in the rust, if you will. So I'll encourage you to, once that gets done, to at least articulate that within the city. Number two, I have to agree with Joe. I'm going to jump over to the alleyways. I think this study, while I appreciate Kimberly Horn's effort on this, there was no cost involved with what this was going to cost. I would, and I've said this time and time again, where's code enforcement in this? Where do they stand? Where does law enforcement stand? Because there's a community policing program that typically articulates things to the front. Now all of a sudden you're back into the alleys. And then lastly, natural resources. They haven't weighed in on this, and then nor has utilities, nor has soft utilities. I saw nothing from them on how the improvement or not improvement of these alleys. How is that going to, what's going to be their participatory? And for one, as a practitioner who works in the alleys, dozens upon dozens of times, it is a ping pong effect to sit over there and say, yeah, but natural resources is not going to allow that. But mobility says yes, mobility says no, and stormwater says yes. And oh, by the way, all that impervious paver stuff you had under the current technical manual, that has zero credit for stormwater. So whether you concrete or whether you put pavers, you are going to lose that aspect. The last question I had to Kimberly Horn, you said we surveyed the alleys. Was that done by a licensed surveyor, or was that just an overview?
We did not survey the alleys, we inventoried the alleys, so we walked every single alley to gather data and to input it in the GIS. So we measured, we had the right of way widths from the plan information, but then we also took infield measurements of how wide the alley was, where was the smallest point? We inventory, was there overgrown landscaping? Was there debris? Is there any encroachments from the side or height? Is there trash collection? So we didn't do any engineering surveys. It was an inventory of the condition of the alleys.
I think that's a real sticking point. I just surveyed 350 feet of the city's alleys on my dime to figure out what was in the alleyways. And what I am going to caution this group is that if you have 3 tiers of levels of usability of the alley or conditions of the alleys, without a survey, what you're going to find is that number is going to drop significantly with temporary structures, with permanent structures, even the soft utilities, Verizon, the cable folks, they don't know where their stuff is. So that's and I'm only coming from the practitioner side. And oh, by the way, I own property in West Tampa as well. So I'm a stakeholder in West Tampa.
Okay, very robust conversation. So I think that ends up happening. Thank you very much. And we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. Thank you guys for participating. Which brings us to item opportunity zone. The reason I sent this out because, one of the things we have to realize is that as a CRA, we generate funds, but, most of our funds need to be leveraged, or try to be leveraged with advance. And one of the oversights of West Tampa was, when the previous mayor, not this mayor, but the previous mayor, when they created the opportunity zones, they in West Tampa, we had Census Tract 43, which is from the river to Rome, the interstate on the south, and all the way up to Columbus Drive. Then we have Census Tract 44, which is from Rome to Armenia. And then you got 25, and it's on down on from Armenia. Well, what happened was, the reason I brought this up about these opportunity zones and Brenda took the time to print them out, is that Census Tract 44, which is the slum and blighted area in West Tampa, which includes Main Street, is not included. So that means that if we wanted to get investment, like they got at West River, from people out of New York, whatever, that want to, put money into an opportunity zone, and the city push opportunity zone, these kind of consult down the land, you already know. They had them on they came to talk at CRA meeting about opportunity zones, they put out a little flyer about opportunity zones. And we're saying, well, what good is that doing for the core of the CRA? Because it's only dealing with the West River property, really, Census Tract 43. So the reason I brought this up is because under the big, beautiful bill, opportunity zones were permanently made. They're gonna be permanent, but it's a new set of rules. Okay, and what, under the one big, beautiful act, there's a new set of rules. And I feel that, I might pass the mic to the vice chair, but I don't want to take a motion. But under the new rules, the only person that can designate new opportunity zones is gonna be the governor of each state. See, before the mayor could do it, I could do it, anybody that wanted to say you want opportunity zones, turn it in, and if you got the political powers up there in DC, you got it approved. And so, opportunity zone to skip over the predominantly real, I call it black area in West Tampa, Census Tract 24, was really, I don't know if it's done intentionally, but why would you overlook Main Street from Rome to Armenia? That makes no sense. And if we have opportunities on it, we can convince one of them investors, like they're trying to do in Ybor City, over on Animal Drive, where they have opportunity zones. Mr. Shaw and everybody to get investors to invest with their tax credits, So what I want to do is get ahead of this curve. Because if you read this, January of 2026, 2027, the zones will go into effect. So the new map opportunity zones will go into effect. Now, I don't know if they're going to keep the old zones, and you got to react those. But if you go to the digital link, you can zoom right in from the whole United States, just keep zooming in, and you come right here in West Hampton and see the opportunity zone that this group researched that would be eligible. Because they changed the eligibility, they changed that, it's got to be more lower income. They want to put more opportunity zones in rural areas. So my thing is that we know that Central Tract 44 is not an opportunity zone. If it was an opportunity zone, it would create opportunity for us to get funding from the Fed, from private investors that want to put their money into opportunity zones. There are opportunity zones here in Tampa, Florida right now, millions of dollars in it. They just don't tell you about it. So what I want to do, if the city wants to do it, I'm gonna pass the mic, because I want to make a motion that the chair write a letter to the governor and request that Central Tract 44 be included in the new One Beautiful Bill for Opportunity Zones. That's what I want to do. So, Mr. Chair, take over the meeting. I want to make a motion.
Thank you. Before we do that, I clicked on that link, you had send this thrower an email to send out to have an inclusive map. And I thought we did have an opportunity though.
Not in 44. You got 43, which is Grace River Development, up the road.
Okay.
And then from Rome to Michigan is a donut.
Yes, sir.
So to have a contiguous situation, we need to get 44.
I agree. Okay. Is there a motion?
That motion is that the chair be authorized to send a letter to the governor to
So I have to remind you of your role as a CAC, and your role is to give a recommendation to CRA board to do that. So that's really where it sits. There's no letter capability of this committee to do that.
Yes, it
You're an
is.
advisory.
Let me finish. You're not the lawyer. I'm the chair. Listen to the chair. Mr. Chair, can I speak? We wrote a letter. They come and ask me to write a letter to Ms. Child, which is over the U.S. Department of Transportation, to be a support to get the grant for the West River project on city stationery with the man name up there, and I sang. Y'all remember that?
Yes.
Y'all remember that? So that nonsense about we can't write a letter to some federal agency is nonsense. Okay, so I'm making a motion. Let Mr. Roy go get the lawyers to tell us we can't, and we got to go get the board to do it, and then we'll see what happens. Because if not, I might write the governor letter on my own stationery. But that's my motion, is that the chair be endowed, will write a letter to the governor, and if it's Mrs. Thrower, the lawyer feel that that's not proper, then they'll get back with us and say, y'all can't do that.
That is part of the motion.
That's the motion.
It's spread to.
Central Tract 44 be included under the new opportunity zones for that's gonna be created and going into effect January 1st, 2027. Just to get a letter to them, real simple. Don't have to say nothing, put a little background, West Tampa, CRA, but that's what we need to do. Because they're not, they've got lobbyists right now already all over the United States, all over Florida. It's already working the system to get this stuff to the governor's office. And I want to make sure that we don't miss that opportunity, because we're not going to wait for the city. You know how long it's going to take? We wait for the city.
Discussion with you in a second. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Ms. Flaherty. Discussion. Yes, go ahead, Ms.
I just need clarification. The zones were handed down by the state or the federal government?
Federal government does that.
So in other words, the city, oh, sorry for that. Thank you. So the city had no say-so in designating the zones. They were handed down by the federal government?
The city, you could, back when they first started, you could make a request to have your census tract made an opportunity zone. So you make requests. So the city can make requests, everybody request, and then it went up. Now they're saying the governor of each state has to make the request to the federal government to get it. It's what this article here explains to you.
So the governor made the request for all the Florida opportunities.
No. The old way, anybody could.
No, but now.
Now you gotta go through the governor.
So the governor already did that?
No, he hasn't.
He has not.
No, that's why I want to get ahead of the curve.
Okay, then my question is, what is the city now? I'm assuming the city is involved in making sure that the city's priorities are met before the governor.
Not sure if he's able to come on, but Mr. Javier Marin, who's our Director of Economic Opportunity, is online. I'm not sure if he has a comment on this. Hello. Hi, Javier.
Good afternoon, Ms. Flor. Can you hear me?
Opportunity zones are handled through Mr. Marin's office, so he would be able to speak better to this. Thank you, Javier. If you want to say a few words, if that's okay, Chair Robinson.
Yes, please go ahead.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Just a moment.
How about now? Can you hear me?
Yes, good. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Flor, and thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, everyone. Javier Marin, Director of Economic Opportunity for the City of Tampa. I am sorry I wasn't able to join you in person, but you have tough competition with the budget hearing tonight. In any event, I wanted to be able to contribute to the conversation on opportunity zones. In a sense, the Chair Robinson basically summarized what opportunity zones are. We work closely with the Tampa Bay Economic Development Council, who's the leading economic development agency for the county and for the city. And we are working on identifying potential opportunity zones. Unfortunately, as Mr. Robinson pointed out, the existing opportunity zones may or may not remain within the opportunity zone regime. And so the governor will be appointing new opportunity zones. And typically, the new requirement actually looks for or favors rural areas to be opportunity zones. But our plan is to be able to develop a list, and we're happy to take any information that you would like to forward and make those recommendations to Mayor Castor, who will then, of course, make the recommendations to the governor. It is an ongoing process. The opportunity zone, the governor should certify or recommend the opportunity zones by the summer of 2026, and they will be finalized by the federal government in 2027. So there is going to be a one-year gap. But I agree, we need to move forward with it now. We are in conversations with the Tampa Bay Economic Development Council. Unfortunately, Mr. Tony Brown, who spearheads opportunity zones at the EDC, was unavailable tonight. But we are again in the process of moving the different areas forward to make a recommendation to the mayor.
Mr. Chair, let me just state this, okay? This article here explains that, real simple. These people, this research people, have already determined which census tracts in the United States will be eligible based on if you go to that map and click it, it'll give you the income, median income. If you click it, you'll get the median income. You just sit there and click 44, and it'll be brown. And that means that's one that they've already said will be eligible. What I just heard is the city ain't even there yet. See, I'm trying to stay ahead of the curve. See, if we wait around, the politics gonna step in. If we don't pass this motion, our AEC consultant engineering firm, is gonna write a letter to the governor asking that census tract 44 be made up to zone. My business is located here, right up the street out my house. So if the city don't wanna do it, and y'all don't wanna pass the motion, I'm gonna do it first. And let it be known that I couldn't get the city to do it.
There's two things before I get to you. Then, the track is beyond the CRA boundaries. The track is beyond the CRA boundaries, right?
No, it is in CRA boundaries.
It's in it, and then it goes outside of it.
No, it doesn't. Census tract 44 stops on the meter.
Is it the blue one?
No, wrong. That is another thing. That is a West Tampa business district
What is?
that I haven't talked about
You have a
yet.
map of that one?
Huh?
You have a map of that one?
It's on the, you have to go in there and click it.
Oh, okay. But
That's
it's-
why I
it's all-
said this out, so you can just go and click, you can go on that map and go drill down.
And it's all.
And let's show, this is, I haven't talked about that yet.
Go ahead.
Well, I was asking that to get an understanding of the process, because as Mr. Javier, they're working on this to develop the official list from the city to submit to the governor, and am I right? So the key to me first is getting on the city's list. I mean, I can't imagine that if we're not on the city's list,
Well, let me explain to you about history. Why we didn't be on the list originally from the mayor's office in the first place. Why did they go 43, skip over 44 and go to 45? See, that's why I'm trying to tell you. It didn't happen when they first started. What makes sure that we're gonna make the list now? So we need to go on the record saying we want 44 to be on the list.
right, but what we would go on the record is with the mayor's office, with Mr. Javier, with the Tampa
Then
Bay.
let's share my letter to the mayor saying that we wanna have, opportunities to track 44 since now. we gonna go to that.
Including the Tampa Bay Economic Development Council.
But whoever, you know, I can make a motion and just say that Ms. Brother should give it the man and not.
So we have-
We want to subtract 44, we do
Make
that.
a motion then.
Yes.
And
Okay,
So you've changed your motion?
yes, sir.
Tell me.
Now that we got new information from Mr. David, so what I do is I make my motion that we have, our manager get with the mayor and economic that we voted, that I'm making a motion that we vote to have the city include Central Track 44 and on the new opportunity zone maps. That's my motion.
Ms. Maloney, do you accept the revised motion?
Yes.
Okay, any further discussion? Yes, go ahead.
Of the status of that request, so that there are no surprises, January 2026.
And to keep us informed with that, and then
Keep us informed.
if there is no further discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Wow.
Any opposed?
Okay, Mr. Chairman, you still wrote, now you put like the blue map.
Yes.
Now, I'm gonna ask everyone in here a question. Y'all been sitting on this committee long. Are you aware of, have anybody ever seen this blue map?
Yes.
And you probably haven't seen it. You probably have seen it. What it is, I didn't even know about it existed. What it is the only reason it came up because I had an issue about utilizing the commercial grant. This is the West Tampa Business District map. Okay, which picks up Maine, goes south and says more than the CRA. But the reason I ended up getting it because I have houses, some historical contributing houses that I wanted to keep residential because they're located in a CI zoning. And you can't really have residential in CI zoning, because I can show y'all tonight at the end of the meeting that I got some requests to put residential in CI zoning down there where y'all at. And so I'm saying, okay, I want to get a copy. So you can't get a commercial, grant because it's related to this use. So I say, Abby, how can I do it? She said, well, you got to have a business use, so I got to make them an office space. Okay, well, what I'm gonna do about parking? Okay, yeah, what she said. If you're in the West Tampa Business District, parking is waived.
Unless you're a medical office or restaurant over 3,000 square feet.
Yeah, but basically it's waived, she said. Well, I'm not talking about a restaurant, I'm talking about a lawyer's office, a real estate office. I don't need no parking. You can park on the street. That's why I found out about this map. So I just want to bring it to our attention and to people that are looking for opportunities in West Tampa, that we're in a West Tampa Business District that has some waivers for, and the reason they said, because they wanted to convert some of these residents that sit on Mingy and Howard into business uses. So that's all I'm gonna have. I don't make no motion, but that's why I had the blue map. So we get back to it.
To further that discussion, Mr. Robinson, when we were doing the West Tampa overlay amendment, Mr. Roger, this was brought to our attention that there is this district. What we wanted to do is extend it all the way to Rome, I believe. And I believe we sent out letters to all the business owners within the stretch from Albany to Rome. And to the city, that was when Jesus Nino was here. And I'm not sure exactly what happened, but at the end of the day, that change was not made to the West Tampa.
So are you saying that we need to make a motion with that, we request that?
That is one of the many things that was tabled for a future amendment.
Well, we ain't worried about it, but take this, we're gonna make a first motion that if you got a motion, I'll take the mic back. But if you got a motion that we need to move that, see, we need to do stuff now. Because this is a new day and this is now. That was then, that's who's gone, we gotta just bring them through it now.
No, I understand, I'm just saying, this was done years ago and it hasn't been touched since.
Okay.
So this is a good opportunity.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So if you think that maybe I take if you're gonna make a motion to that effect, because you seem like y'all knew more about it.
Well, the thing with the West Tampa overlay gate and the land development could be nearby, I think it's something that we need to work in there while they're doing these revisions. Because if we change it now, it's gonna be changed again, so.
Yeah, so,
My point, sorry.
go ahead, I'm sorry, I mean, Mr. Chair.
I know we spoke about this quite a bit, and we spoke about this quite a bit when we were doing when we had our subcommittees. And one of the things I think it was recommended that they reach out to, there were 13 contributing commercial structures within that area along Albany and Rome. It was everything basically on the east side of Albany, all the way over to Rome. And at that time, I think I made the point, which was they created this without everybody's permission to begin with. It doesn't require anybody to do anything. It gives them the option of businesses with some variances. And that at that time, nobody can answer, why can't we just extend it? Who's in charge of extending? Who do we have to ask? Is it a council thing? Is it mayor? I mean, who did it? And you really shouldn't have to ask the permission to include somebody into something that is a benefit, but if we wanted to do that, it wouldn't take long.
But then that was what my observation, because when I found, because nobody never got back with me, so I did my own research. And that's when I found it. And what I found, it looked like it came around in 2023. It's what the GIS map happened. And that's January 2023.
Yeah, this is right since they didn't go to.
I don't think it's saying. Okay, well, anyway, so I think that we need to make a statement, say that the, West Tampa Business Development Business District map should be extended to Rome Avenue Foundation.
Is there a second?
I say,
Any further discussion?
And we want the city to extend it.
Right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved.
That is, Mr. Chair. You give me
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to do that, but I have to pass the mic and make a motion, but I'm just trying to get more opportunity for businesses and residences in the CRA of West Tampa. And this map, waiver stuff, getting opportunity zones, just trying to stack the deck, because we're leading the pack when it comes to CRAs in the city of Tampa. And we want to say, right, we're right along this last, we'll be late.
that would help Lucky Tiger get open in Albany.
Exactly, it would help Lucky Tiger open up it all day. All right, moving right along, project team report, CRA staff reports, Ms. Brenda Flores. Thank you, Mr. Guida.
So So in your packet, you have your typical reports that are in there. Your projects report is in there. I have spoken to the team, Mr. Ramirez, about having more dates. As dates come available, they're going into that report. So that, you can see more on that, moving forward. The commercial grants, report. I always make a big one for y'all, so you have one on your table. I know it's still small. We're working with the team to improve, the layout and visual of that, because it's hard to see. So we're working on that. But most importantly, that there is a community meeting coming up on October 13th. There's a flyer in your packet, and it's going to be held at Hannah. And this is all about commercial grants, policy, update, the whole program. So if you can make it out to that, it's 5:30, October 13th. It's a Monday night at Hannah. Okay. And then I'm going kind of fast with this because I have Miss B Parks here. She was able to come tonight. Thank you, B. Because she did a wonderful presentation in front of CRA board last week about the housing programs. And I'd like to just let her speak to y'all a little bit about it. The entire presentation was included in your packets. You have it.
Okay. The whole presentation, an excellent job.
Thank you. Any questions that anyone has so far about the thing? I know that you're going to be referencing, which we're going to talk about now. Questions? Okay. So yeah, as Mr. Earl mentioned, I did go in front of the CRA board specifically to talk about the unit creation and conversion program, AKA developer subsidy. They wanted to kind of bring that publicly, digest it, get some public feedback. The first part of it is that November 11th meeting where we kind of went through, the old process, the old process, gathered some feedback from the board and, some public comment that was made. And then I will be in attendance the October 13th meeting, because I know residential will pop up when speaking about commercial. So again, I want to get as much feedback from there. And then, once we come back with, currently I'm going through some, finalization on documents and stuff like that. We then will come back to the board in November. We'll go ahead and give kind of like, hey, this is what we gathered from everything. This is what we're proposing at that time. And then we're going to open it up for public comment from that November to December time to hopefully open it up for business again in January. Okay, so that's where that comes in with the unit creation and conversion program. For transparency, I am hiring individuals. Currently, I'm a team of one currently. So I'm hiring, some individuals, to bring more experience into the group and also to help out with this hard test of producing attainable housing in all of the districts. So, if I don't return phone calls right away, please, bear with me while I can gather myself to answer and to make sure that I can respond. Or you can show up to my shop. East Tampa, I'm at the District 3 Police Office, Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 5:30. And then I also have, everyone has my cell phone. So text if I don't answer the phone call. I'm not ignoring anyone because I'm doing other things. So let's talk about housing rehab and renovation program, okay? So we do have two paths for that. It's the owner occupied path if you're living in that unit, and this is again the rehab program that provides up to $100,000 for repairs in the home. So that's the owner occupied. If you live there, that's great. Your income to qualify you to get those repairs. Now for the CRA, the only one that has this rental rehab component. Okay, so it's still the CRA is the only area that has a rental rehab program.
All of the CRA?
Correct. All of the CRA, okay?
So they do have a.
Yes, we do. Now, when it's not highly used because a lot of our units are owner occupied. But I am currently underwriting, going through an application with a property owner in West Tampa. Coincidentally, that's not you, that is, using, so the process is we use the income of the tenant that's living in that property. And we need to have the tenant to use income, or we're going to go off of the property owner's income. And right now, as it stands, if you make $100,000 or less, you can qualify to apply for the program, okay? So we qualify that tenant in the rental rehab road, we qualify that tenant and their income to then move on to the second stage.
Stop right there.
Yes,
So, okay. We would have a housing, affordable housing problem.
yes.
I got a property that I want to renovate. So do y'all have a list of people looking for places where I can go get them? Say, look.
Joe, the microphone, Mr.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. In case of vacant, because these are this place up, they can have somebody in and move around on that. My question is that if y'all have a list of people, I say, okay, if I fix this place up, this person here, low income, you don't make, essentially whatever you want to call it, that they can stay there. I mean, it's like you're saying you gotta have somebody already in the house that's already need repair.
Yeah, so
I've already had that, but I had people move out so I can do something with it.
Yeah, I understand, Mr. Joe. So I'm gonna take this feedback.
Where's this?
It's not, it's developing. It's
not on the pictures.
No.
Okay.
No, okay. So it's developing, because like I mentioned, The owner occupied rehab is cut and dry. We understand how that's gonna work once we go through this process and we formalize it. We're currently going through a policy update. It's gonna include my stuff. But, you know, that is formalized with owner occupied rehab. That's easy. What becomes difficult is this situation, right? Because everything is area median income. These programs are meant to help low to moderate income population, okay? That also includes individuals that might be low to moderate income that own a location that rents out to low to moderate income. So we look at income as number one factor. I can't waiver income. I can't waiver income. I cannot say, oh, can you go above the 120 or the 140%? I cannot do that. By law, that is set in stone by the state of Florida. Florida Housing Finance Corporation, which runs all of the affordable housing programs within the state of Florida, has set out these matrix with the income. It's all gathered through HUD. They come together, they produce this income limit, and that's what we have to
What
go.
that got to do with, you know?
I just start off with income because a lot of
Okay,
people
but
might say, hey, I can't
we're trying to get a person that's qualified, low moderate income person in an affordable place.
Yes,
So
so
my thing is that whether the owner income is irrelevant. The owner's income is irrelevant. You need to, we got structures around here that can be fixed up and be rented to low moderate income people without a lot of red tape.
yes,
Okay, because most people don't want to rent to low income people. That was a background of Section 8. See, I'm sitting there saying, I'm willing to do that, but I gotta sign. See, so that, matter of fact, let me say this. The city had a rental rehab program on the CDBG money. You aware of that?
they don't have an active rent.
No, I'm just telling you, the city has had, because I got,
Before,
yeah,
Okay.
85, because I got one on my house over here, one on Beach Street, and there's a rental rehab program that the city had.
okay,
So what I'm saying is y'all need to bring it back, because there's a lot of rental property in West Tampa that's sitting around here that can be utilized for people to stay in. Everybody ain't gonna be a homeowner. You got some people that work at the city can't even afford a house right now. Right?
yes,
Okay, so what I'm saying is seriously, that especially with $500,000 sitting down the street, so y'all want to knock it down to a $500,000 deal right there? Okay, they're not gentrifying. I'm trying to say, all I'm saying is come up with a rental rehab that ain't based on some superstitious income, because we're sitting out here to do something differently.
correct.
We don't have to follow HUD and all that. We ain't getting HUD money. Just like we ain't getting no federal government money. These are taxpayers' dollars. So we don't have to follow federal rules. Okay? That's the first thing. So what I'm saying is we got to be creative. Because I'm sitting around here, I can drive around the neighborhood and I see a whole bunch of places that's vacant, that could be fixed up. We own one, right? We got one on Spruce Street, ain't nobody in it, is it?
No. That's another.
We got one, I said, we just bought another one, a blue house. Just bought that one, but somebody's still staying. I don't know how they're going to build that and collecting the rent, but somebody's still staying.
Haven't closed yet.
Oh, okay, they ain't closed yet. So what I'm getting at is that rental rehab needs to be on the table. And I think that the only reason the city went home ownership is to satisfy the developers, okay? See, this is why that home ownership thing, but it's only dealing with one person, one family. Rental, man, you got people around here with rent in a minute. If they had the funds to fix it up nice, HVAC, all this stuff that you can get renovated. Otherwise, you force a person like myself to sit in a CAC zoning to turn it into commercial space. They make more money than the residential rent from a low-income person. And I've been renting to low-income people since I was 12 years old. See, this ain't no secret. Okay, I'll be full disclosure. So I've been renting to low-income people. There's no leases or nothing. They end up owing me thousands. Some people owe me 2,000, owe me 3,000. Tear the place up. I got to go in there and replace everything, do it all over again, okay? But I still own the property right now. So all I'm asking, that's the thing. See, here's the other thing too. The commercial part is a problem. And it came up, and I think as the housing. And I just don't understand why the city is like, they have the housing program and they got the commercial program. There needs to be some integration and crosstalk. Let me tell you why. A friend of mine owns a commercial building on 22nd Street in the CRA. And upstairs is residential. And downstairs, it was residential, and downstairs is commercial. So where do you go? You got residential up, you got commercial below. Do you go to commercial grant? Do you come to the housing? And that came up at the discussion at city council. And I don't know if there was a resolution to it. So those kind of things, so with people, the guy right there talking about doing most like building the rights, they're talking about adding a second story onto the Moses White building and making residential up there. So we got to be creative, and a lot of your successful developments, Mr. Brazil, can say that, you know, and it's also a security thing. If you got commercial back in the day, Mr. Green left, but back in the day, families in West Tampa would be doing business on the first floor and staying on the second floor. That was a family home up above. That way, you had security there to watch your place, okay? And when you have residential above and commercial below, you got people up there watching them 24 hours a day as opposed to a business that's closed downstairs. So it's a good mix to have residential up above a structure. Even the housing authority doing it. They got residential above, and you go on their street level, they got all kinds of storefronts of commercial space and businesses that they try to, you know, run at the restaurant, they open up down, I want to see when it's open up, I want to go down to it. So that's all I'm saying is that that's a problem, not having no rehab. And we talked about this on this CRA committee some years back, and before Jesus, is why we don't have a rental rehab, and we were pursuing that. When he brought on the white, you know,
The vanilla shell.
the vanilla shell and all that, the rental rehab was supposed to be moved forward and it got crushed. It didn't move. And then the city started changing the whole CRAs and all of the blah. So all I'm asking is, let's talk about rental rehab.
For the vacant,
Okay.
for vacant property.
For vacant properties.
We have it currently for people.
With just vacant properties that need to be rental rehab.
Okay,
That's what I'm saying. We might have a commercial building, Mr. Brazil, they might have a building down there that's been vacant, but they need some money to turn it into, like example, Manchester, the whole city, in fact, they made it for students to have apartments. To me, that's rental rehab.
Yeah.
Okay, but it hasn't been defined by the city. So all I'm asking is that the housing needs to work with commercial, because you will have commercial space at the back. I got time, I'm sitting to you, I tell you, man, great county.
which through the special projects, that's what we were trying
You
to.
did, and he was upset because they said, well, you know, you're not residential, you're not commercial, you're a hybrid. And there hasn't been any help, and the building's right on 22nd, right next to that phone place.
Okay.
So, but he'll get the South Carolina State game. So all I'm saying is, I want to bring up tonight on the record, because I believe in open, telling you what it is pretty quick. That's why I put my properties on here to start this messing with y'all about why we don't have rental rehab. You get it?
Okay.
So that's all I'm saying. Let's get some rental rehab for vacant structure. And then we can get some places for people to stay. And then what you do, you must have a person rent to a person for the next 20, 30 years.
Yeah, well,
Within the median. Yeah. Yeah.
Which is what we're doing for the conversion.
Exactly. Now, would you speak to, you keep saying this fancy word, will you say what convergence projects do we have in West Tampa?
Okay.
Because I don't know if we don't have any, but then we have some money you showed a thing on the state council.
Yes.
That you had some money for all of the CRAs.
Yes.
And we had some money in West Tampa, right?
Yes, so I did, project some, okay, so the unit creation is like creating units, so new construction, for developers who are building new construction. Now, for the conversion part of it is if, let's say I have an existing unit, I'm a developer, similar to rental rehab per se, maybe this is covered through rental rehab. But, it's like someone who owns a building and then now they want to rehab their building. And then they're now going to that restriction of the 50 years. So for example, they come in, they do, any type of improvements internally, that could be plumbing, electricity, electrical, roof, whatever. And then they're promising for X amount of years, which we're really enforcing the 50-year mark, that they will rent to low and moderate income families for that. And then we'll monitor it. We're trying to go above and beyond the Live Local Act, because that, 10 years past 20 years goes fast.
In other words, the
30,
flipping.
correct.
Got it.
So,
Stop flipping.
correct, it's stopping the flipping, number one, and number two, if they decide to flip, then at that point, whatever we put in that unit is paid back to the city.
Or the new owner agrees with the terms.
Correct. That's where it'll be on the title.
That's the city.
It's us, the CRA, it'll come back to us,
Or
as
the
long as
CRA
we're in existence. So all of the money, that's what happens at the end, we have to say, all the money goes back into general fund, so. During the time of the,
So you're working.
yes, okay.
Okay,
Anybody else?
yeah, I have.
But I'm sorry, Mr. Long had his hand up, I'm sorry. Give him the mic, so.
Got another one.
Got another mic?
We got another one.
Definitely agree with, Joe Robinson's, comment. I remember when I moved down here from DC, downtown Tampa didn't have residential parking that I was. After hours, that's just like it goes down, close, shut down. So that mixed use stabilizes, livability and brings back security. So that mixed use that you were talking about, is in fact, a good, process to follow.
Yeah.
And make sure, so we come up with these ideas, but we have to think it out. It cannot just be rental. It has to be, if we have an opportunity, especially in West Ham, that we're trying to bring investors in.
Correct.
So it makes sense to have that mixed use
Correct.
accommodation in place.
Just to let you know what it is gonna look like moving forward, with the proposed process, if you've seen the presentation, you'll see that, come January, if everything goes through, then what I'll do is put out a notice of funding availability for the unit creation and conversion program, where I just say, hey, I have X amount of dollars available for this, mixed use, new construction, rehab. You pitch us the project, okay? As long as you have site control, we're not gonna help with land acquisition, we're not. So if you have to have site control, you put out the notice of funding availability through a request for application, where the developer will fill out the application, provide all of that information. Then it's gonna go in, with a selection committee, okay? One of the CACs, whoever, we primarily gonna choose the chair, but if the chair is not available, or he or she wants to say, hey, I choose someone else to be part of this committee, then they'll be part of that committee that will review that application, will score it, and then provide a score to move forward. With the recommendation.
Right there, Mr. Scagnoni made an important statement at that meeting. And he said, he says, I'm gonna make my developer friends out there mad right now, because he says it's a money grab for out-of-state people. So that matrix you got needs to have some kind of factor in it to give bonus points or something for local people.
Yes.
Like you do on the commercial grant. If you've owned it for 20-some years, it's a legacy status. And the question is, why we don't have legacy status for residential?
Because it was thought of with the commercial side,
I understand, but is there anything saying you cannot have a legacy status on residential?
well, noted, that is dialogue that we're getting now, that will digest. I have 2 ideas for legacy credit for residential, which I think will work good. It's just done out, and then flush it, and then
Yeah, Mr. Jones.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up some of those issues, Mr. Robinson, because that's my problem. When I look on here and I see people on the commercial side smiling and I don't see residential, it pisses me off. Because I got people in the community who's falling through the crack. I'm not fussing, I'm just saying. And my purpose on this board is to serve poor people. I don't give a crap about the rich people. I'm gonna just say it. I'm interested in the people in this neighborhood that have put everything they had in it, along with their parents. Okay? That's what I wanna say. I could give a crap. I'm really pissed.
Well, I apologize for the news. Okay.
Because we have people that's falling through the crack and get their roof done. And just like he said, we have vacant houses that can be rehabbed. What does it matter if you $2 over the limit? The purpose is to help the people in the neighborhood that have been here, so they can stay here also. And I'm over this, everybody get but the poor. I'm over it.
Ms. Williams?
Well, all I'm gonna say is, in addressing the issues that Ms. Jones made, I think what confuses me or baffles me is where is the creativity, if that's at all possible, to create new options? People have been talking about how difficult it is to rent, find a place to live, and just as the chairman indicated, that's a solution. That's a solution to help people that some other people don't want to help. And this would help stabilize this neighborhood that is undergoing change faster than, I don't know, a speeding light bulb, you know?
Well,
But there's something wrong here.
If it's not covered through the HRP program, it can be covered through the unit created.
But see, she's making a strong point. See, here's my point. You got a willing owner here that want to rent to low income people. But I want the city to give me some money to do it with. Otherwise, I'm gonna be like Mr. Messina. I'm gonna knock it down and build, and you don't need but 20 feet, or 15 feet. 15 feet or 10 feet? I think it's one on Spruce, it's 10 feet. 10 feet, no, 10 feet wide lot.
Oh,
House building, 10-foot wide lot. 15-foot wide lot. They just go straight up and turn around and sell it for $500,000. I don't wanna do that.
I think too, and then I'll finish, is that we have to stop looking down on people. Because it only takes one paycheck to go from having an apartment or even having a house to being on the street. You know, and I think we have to change our mindset and try to understand that there's nothing wrong with needing a little bit of help. No, there's nothing wrong with being poor, but we have to stop having this mindset that, oh my God, you know, people on Section 8, what's the matter with them? I don't want to rent my house to them. You know, those things are wrong. Those things are wrong.
Well, I'm saying, I'm going to rent the Section 8 anything. I rent the people that ain't Section 8, rush from Section 8, okay?
Yeah, but you get my point.
I know, but if I think if the city gives an incentive, okay, for people like myself to not knock down and build something that ain't nobody gonna afford, not even the staff is at the city, but take something that's there, wood frame that don't cost that much, air condition, rebuild the roof, the floor, jacking up with new wood, even. And even hire some people from the trade school to come over there and train on how to do plumbing and woodworking and all that, but anyway.
Can I just comment? I understand about coming from poverty, because I did come from poverty. And I understand about generational wealth, because I wasn't able to save my family home in Orlando, Florida. I just want to put that on the record, because when I come and I work creatively, I think of the people, because I am the people. I work so hard to get to middle class and can't even survive middle class. So I completely understand. And the newsletter thing, no, I don't have any stories that I would put in that newsletter that makes a difference. So, no, I'm saying with residential, West Tampa is open for business for rehab. I want to put that publicly. If you have people that you know are having issues with their house, please send them over. Wood frame is not easy to do. Actually, East Tampa has a ton of wood frames. They cost more than $150,000 to do it.
Let me explain something to you.
So what I'm just trying to mention is, I have the data that shows real life construction costs.
Let me explain to you. Okay, I'm an engineer. with a PE. And there's a way to do construction on wood frames.
Correct.
And if you have people that don't know how to deal with a wood frame, that deal with block and concrete, aluminum and all of that, you're gonna have a high price because they don't know what they're doing.
But I'm saying that all types of housing.
I know, but what I'm
is an
saying
issue
is,
with-
West Tampa, matter of fact, city of Tampa, housing stock, not long ago, like 45% was all wood frame.
Yes, and those are the highest numbers that we have so far on the east side. I'm not saying west.
And we're not,
We
we're talking
did 2 reviews in the west and
See,
there wasn't too bad.
shotgun house.
Yeah.
Shotgun, 10.
One is a complete, like, I feel bad, it's close to 200,000 and it's right off of Walnut.
Okay, well, that, which, that is, like, I'm gonna step into something.
Yeah,
Remember when I said y'all buying the blue house for $450,000 and it'll cost you 200-some thousand to fix it up?
yeah. But
Finding out.
I think she wants to talk. She wants to talk, I think.
I can see you, Miss Maloney, I'm sorry, get your mic.
Here's the mic, yeah, please.
Thank you. I just want to clarify something. My understanding was in a mixed-use building where you've got commercial on the ground floor, residential above, the owner could apply for grant assistance based on a commercial building. Any rental property is a commercial building, correct?
No. Not residential rental. It's a use.
4 units or under. It's considered residential by,
Okay, so more than 4 units would be a commercial building.
Correct.
Okay. All right, I'm kind of right there with Delphine. I just feel like the rules are, like, we get in the weeds with these rules and they get changed every single month. We come back and talk about the same things. And it seems like, we're not really getting very far. And it is difficult for people to apply. And it's especially difficult for them to hit a moving target. So if you're like explaining things differently.
I haven't explained anything with the rehab. All I'm saying is we don't have anything with rental solidified, okay? That's all I'm saying,
They
with
got
rental
programs,
vacant.
Sam.
But with the HRP program right now, and I'm sorry that, yes, I'm just working on it. But with the HRP program, we currently help West Tampa individuals. We did about 8 walkthroughs in West Tampa, okay? We have money in West Tampa, so refer individuals that you see, text me, say, B, 2604 on this street. Then I'll go to them or send them an application for them to fill out. I'll even explain to them the lien portion of it, because a lot of people get scared about the lien portion. And they come into our office, I explain that to them, and then I even refer them to nonprofits that do estate claims, because that's another big issue in our community is how do we plan this to leave it to our next. A lot of people don't have a living will and trust, so these are certain things that is more of like a case management in this sense, but it's actively open. We can provide up to $100,000 worth of assistance to help these owner occupied current units, and also rental if it's occupied by a tenant. Now, I'm still working on the vacant one because that was before. But since I have it now, we're working on this plan as we find it. We're trying to at least get some of the units done.
Mr. Ramirez and Mr. Brazil. Land the plane.
Thank you for the presentation. Just had a question on the 50-year affordability.
Yes.
So we use this program, we are to be held to 50 years of providing affordable housing.
Correct.
How is that monitored and how is that enforced?
Okay, so so it's gonna be enforced by, we have a third-party, company that's called the Marinette that the city of Tampa uses. It's their loan servicer. They've been using it already for a decade. They actually, currently, monitors their, owner occupied rehab for the city and monitors down payment assistance for both sides. And is monitored, is going to monitor our projects as well. And what they do is make sure that it's owner occupied, either the property owner is still owning the property, taxes are current, and there's, homeowner insurance on there. And also with the LoRa, it's called Land Use Restriction Agreement. If it tries to turn over, of course, parent title, it will be brought up that, you know, it's this affordability restricted covenant that stays on the property. Just to give you just a quick little synopsis of like the infill program that the city has, that we're going to be embarking on our infill for the CRA soon. They have this the affordability period, but also a resale component of it. So we've had already some people from like a couple of years ago that just, they have to leave town, they can't, you know, keep the house or whatever. So it does have a provision that is placed on the title that says it's a resale restriction, that that person has to be low to moderate income. So then it automatically, as a city, we have to then contact, you know, the realtor who's working with that new buyer income, see if that buyer's income qualified, and then go ahead and proceed with the stuff. So we have the barriers in place with the agreements that are placed on the title.
And Mr. Garcia.
Mr. Chair, I don't know if you're taking public comment, but I know Mr. Randall was trying to get it.
He had technical difficulty
Okay,
getting
well,
on.
if that's okay with you, because I mean, it's only
Yeah,
you.
I think, if he wants to answer.
Okay, then we do Mr. Garcia, and then we go to Mike. Is that agreeable? I know that he was trying to get in, but go ahead, Mr. Garcia.
I was just curious, how many residential applications have you guys received so far? West Tampa and then all the CRAs combined.
So we received 368 applications with all of them combined, the bulk East Tampa, 13 from West. 13.
We appreciate you,
And
but stuff moves too slow.
how many of us have been paid?
Only
368.
We have 40 that's under construction. So there's stages of payment. Okay, so for example, there's stages that we have to open the purchase order, testing phase, the actual rehab, and change orders associated with that.
Let me clarify.
So it's different stages of.
Let me clarify another thing too, while they was pushing to get this approved at the CRA. Correct me if I'm wrong, this, the commercial side, the place with the same. What they was finding out was that you can't get the payment to the contractor until the project 100% done. Now, what the contractor gonna wait the project 100% done and get paid on $100,000, $200,000 project? So they changed the new rules, supposed to be, whenever they approve them, they approve them, they got shut down. When they approve them, that they're gonna be able to pay in phases so that the contractor can get some draws. Like, you know, you build a house, you get a draw. The city waits, you gotta get 100% complete before you do it, right?
No.
They changed that?
Yeah, I mean, since I've been associated with the city in the last 6 years, well, the commercial, I can't speak for.
The facade.
For the resident,
We used to do the facade in phases.
yeah.
I know, but the commercial grant,
No,
no.
the residential side is done in draws, 35% complete,
That's the problem.
50% complete, and 100% complete.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Mr. Basile, you
No, I'm
know.
all good.
All right, then it was Mr. Who was it? Oh, Mike Randolph, and then we'll get back to it. Mike, can you hear us? Mike Randolph, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Okay, there you go. We got, go ahead with 3 minutes, man. I'm sorry, I didn't see you had technical
Okay. Thank you, Joe. I'm really frustrated because it seems like every month I'm having an issue with getting in to this particular conversation, but I'll say that for later. I do want to talk about, and this is very, very important for the residents in West Tampa. There's going to be vacancies in the CAC to come on to the board. It's so critical. If you're listening here and you live in West Tampa and you're a resident, to do your part and represent the community. As you know, the Black African American population is going down every day. Right now, we're at a population of 34%, 50% less than 10 years ago. Based on research, these numbers over the next 5 years, that reduction will be anywhere from 6 to 10% in the African American population. That means that a cumulative 30 to 40% of the African American population will be wiped out. This could reduce the African share of neighborhoods roughly to 20 to 26% by 2030. It's so critical if you live in West, if you're a resident, to take part in this conversation because these people control the future. And you need to make sure the future is controlled by you. Thank you.
Mr. Randolph. Okay, is there anyone else so we can move on? Are we done? Are you done as first? Go ahead, Mr. Allen.
No, I was just responding to the question we got to draw for the contract. Because when you sign that contract, the contract will show down the methodology of payment, right? So I would imagine that would be, that no contractor will sign 100% pay in order to proceed with construction. I would imagine, so I don't know what the,
We have a rehab contract that they signed, just like I mentioned, 35% complete. They get 35% payment, 50%, they get another 35, and then at the full completion, they get the whole entire.
That's the housing side.
Housing side, fully is reimbursable.
contractor, because no contractor will sign 100%.
But that's why nobody's doing the commercial grant. So that's why people went down to city council, including myself, and said that they need to stop it, because they're getting ready to approve the commercial grants. And so that's why on October the 13th, that's how that meeting got evolved. That didn't evolve because the city just want to have a meeting. That evolved because people said, no, we've got comments. I had comments about, hey, I'm sitting over here in CI and I'm not a resident, I'm a residential use and all this nonsense. So we said, hold it, slow it down. And one of the things was about payment and all this here. So that meeting on the 13th was created because people went down there complaining about this commercial launch of that. The housing piece is pretty much, the city's been doing housing before. They've done that, so they got some experience. And I'm trying to wake them back up. They realize that they used to do rental rehab, okay, at 3% interest rate, okay, because it was a loan. It wasn't a grant. It was actually a loan, a 3% loan, a revolving loan. And as that money paid back, then it would go back into a fund where they go get somebody else. But this is now all grants. I don't think anything the city's talked to us about housing or commercial is a loan. I think it's all grants, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's the issue. And and that's why, some people say it's a money grab for outsiders. So I really want to stress that we need to start having local folks, local property on this. And if you want to say, what's local? That you own, you might be in New York and own some property, okay? So, okay, but you own it for 20 years, but you're in New York. So we need to really take a look at that. Because what's gonna happen is when you get outside people coming in, you're gonna gentrify quickly. Because they don't care. See, they don't care what happens. All they want to do is make a profit. So I ain't in about making a profit. Okay, I make a profit doing my engineering, but renting houses is just a hobby, really. So what I'm saying is that I think differently, but Mr. Brazil, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's all I'm saying. We appreciate what you're doing, but I think that the city needs to hurry and get you some help. Because this thing here is a private keg, getting ready to blow up on housing. Because what people are seeing, they're seeing all these big, beautiful houses in West Tampa. And all of them are privately funded, through the regular process. And you don't see too many of us in them. Hispanic uplands. And then, the way that I've seen Hispanic group, they get like 5 or 6 people, families, just to get it one. So they got 4 bedroom, 3 bath. But these houses are ridiculously high. And rightfully so. So that's why I said run rehab is a solution. And if rehab ain't gonna cost no $100,000, all that they talking. Not on no wood frame. Anyway, let's move on. I think we done beat that horse to death. It's all recorded. Now, how are you done, Miss B?
Yes.
Okay, when will you be back to us again?
Probably that, November, December time, that November to December, and I will through, Brenda notify on a survey on the presentation, public feedback. That's gonna open soon, a survey on the feedback you presented to put through that so we can gather this information and start plugging it away. But I'm working on what you're saying, which I think is gonna work under the unit creation and conversion program, honestly.
Don't forget something.
For the big,
And don't forget the two, you know.
yeah, well, that's done through unit creation and conversion. When you put out that RFA, you just put out, we're just gonna put out money.
After 1962. Things are evolving so fast, Mr. Maloney. And y'all gotta understand, this CRA came about in 2015, and that was 10 years ago. We've gone through a major expansion and contraction. How many people we done have sit women's businesses? 3? I know maybe 4. I think you was 4, so that you was first.
I was the first.
And then came what's the name?
Jesus.
Hey, so that was good. So 15 years, we don't have, and then them 15 years. Yeah, now, from.
No, it's only been 8 years.
Yeah.
I mean, 7
And
years.
since that, look how that policy of the CRA has evolved and changed. And every time I mess with them, they change it, okay? So it has changed. Even about how long you stay on here, if you're on here or not, you get people feel, well, I'm not on it, I'm on it, on it, you know, right? Okay, so I'm just saying, this thing is baloney, it's changing so fast, but I think it's starting to settle. And I think in the next year or so, it's gonna settle down. Well, it will, because if we keep pressing the envelope like we are, it will settle down. But they listen to us, they hear what we're saying. Okay, move right along. We did the workshop recap, management report, Ms. Brenda Thorne.
Real quick, the CAC recruitment's going on. If y'all are up on your, date, give me your application. I've sent it out to everyone. I'll send it again tomorrow. CAC
On the second page, everybody's date of expiration is on that second page.
Right. So I keep it.
Look on the second page, and you'll see if you look.
And just to clarify, you are still on the CAC until board action takes you off. Okay?
We made
So,
that.
in other words, and I'm sorry about that confusion, but you stay on it, but when you're up near your date, go ahead, send me a new application so we can get you reappointed, okay? Because I want to keep, everyone here, doing the work you do.
I sent my application a lot of it, so if I'm expired.
No, you're up to date.
Yeah, you are dead true.
I think, I have the dates here. You're
I was there the day that they did it.
Yeah, it takes about, that's my fault. I'll make sure you get updated. But yeah, if you're up, just give me your application and we'll get you processed.
Okay,
That's all I have.
that's all you have? Okay, other than that, that moves us to new business. Is there any new business?
I don't know.
Mr. Spurman? I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Williams.
Falls under this category. There's a parking problem on St. Conrad, 1905. When people are not using the driveway. There are people who park on the lawn, but it's better to do that because there are those of us living on the other side who have difficulty, trying to get home or to leave our homes. Because they're parking, there are like 3 and 4 cars parked on the street. They shouldn't be there. So is this a code enforcement issue or is it?
It's a parking issue, and we got it, it's prevalent. They're parking on the right of way, they're parking on the sidewalk, right, all down, I know exactly what's going on. Because everybody wanna have a car right across the street, they got 5 cars, okay? So, in one driveway. And if you go down, what is it, St. Conrad over there, they all parked it on the right of way. And on the sidewalk, you can't walk down the sidewalk, they park it everywhere. So I don't know who enforced it, I think we had parking come in and, wait a minute, somebody had their hand up, it looked like Mr. Spence. I think Mr. Ramirez has an answer for you. Got the mic?
I don't have an answer for it.
Okay,
Didn't the man from City of Tampa Parking give everybody his phone number?
and he gave us a presentation that had the parking criteria and.
A flyer.
A flyer,
I'll find it and resend it, okay, so y'all can report it.
yeah, because I used to carry it around with me everywhere I go, because they had all the numbers and what you do with something like that. Okay, anything else?
May I speak on this?
Yes, ma'am.
I call parking every week because in my neighborhood, we've had 2 accidents that I can't get out. On that side of the road, always need to Leicester, Arch, Nassau, and Grace. So I was told we need to get transportation involved.
You what now?
Transportation department involved because parking is not gonna be able to solve it. That is what I'm told. So I'm supposed to go online and request, you know, for them to come out and evaluate the situation. And another thing, why can't we have, I guess that's transportation, but you know, like when they say no parking, they have so many feet away, so when you come out, nobody's parking there. A sign.
Well, that's the law now. Cause it doesn't show, but you can't park behind the driveway. You got to be 22
No,
feet on either.
that's when you come across the intersection. And you can't see, just like the same situation on.
Oh, zero lot line, yeah.
Yeah, is that what you call it? I don't know the program.
Yeah, you got me in West Tampa trouble, because these buildings are sitting on zero lot lines, and you got to inch out and bang.
Okay, so it seems that transportation would be the solution because they can come out and say, we signed that you need to be. Am I on the right track? Because this is what I was told to go online and request.
Yeah, tell
And then we come out and transact.
tell them the site triangle were obstructed.
Well said.
Train.
See, there go the civil engineering. Because right now, there's a hedge right there on Beach Street, you can't see traffic coming on the minute, because they grew a hedge in the right of way. And it's that tall, and the building's sitting on the zero lot line. All right, new business. Mr. Carlos, for minutes.
Couple of things, looking at the project schedule, I still don't have all the dates and schedules that are requested.
I have I shared this with our project team and I'll have them reply to you.
Thank you. Also, an update on the West Tampa River Walk
Yes,
project.
yeah.
There's going to be a public meeting on 10/16 at 6 p.m. at Blue Baptist. There's also going to be a groundbreaking 10/22 at 10:30. I don't have a location of that one. And then they'll be here next month.
Groundbreaking on what?
On one of the segments.
Huh?
On one of the segments. I don't think it's our segment yet. But they'll be here to talk to us about our segment 10/21.
Okay, but not the groundbreaking on our segment.
Yeah.
But, okay.
Find out about that. I just learned about that date and I want all of you invited to it because we're a partner in that project regardless. Well, I know, but it's the first one they're offering.
Cancel me.
I just heard about it.
Yeah.
Because
You're at the street.
10/22, yes.
Yeah, I still want to.
10/22.
So you,
I'm sorry, what was the 16th?
The 16th is the first public meeting for April meeting. And it's going to be at 6 p.m. at the Blue Baptist.
For Riverwalk.
We won't be
Yeah,
here.
Okay.
Won't be here, Mr. Brother.
What?
9/16, we won't be here.
No.
So when is the groundbreaking, Mr. Collins?
I don't, it's at 10:30, but I don't know where.
No, what date?
Oh, 10/22.
Okay.
So while we're talking about this, can I interject the next CAC meeting on the 21st? Okay, that's Tuesday. Nina from what is, there's a presentation on the West River Walk too. So we have that opportunity to learn more and find out more. Actually, it's the day before the groundbreaking. Okay.
And they did say they have a banner that they're going to be placing around with the West Tampa or Tampa City.
Anything else?
Yes, so I sent an email out, yesterday that I had gotten forwarded.
About the alley?
About the alley.
Yeah.
So, and we've been discussing it enough, so I don't think we need to discuss any more about that. But there is one thing I wanted to bring up that's been a concern, and it's not the first time it's happened, but we are getting, Mr. Michelini claimed that he was a CAC member.
I saw that.
He has never been a CAC member, nor is he currently.
You had to be talking about a subcommittee.
And this is not the first time I've had to correct them on this.
You must come about a subcommittee.
I just want to make sure that On the record,
I know he wasn't.
that he is not on the CAC or has been on the CAC.
But I think he was like a supplement.
He attended the subcommittee, the infrastructure subcommittee, but that is not the CAC. Yeah, yes.
Anything else, Mr. Ramirez? Okay, with that said, let me go over this Rolodex here. 29, you might want to listen to some of these, they're interesting. 2901 North Auburn, multifamily and commercial general zoning district. Special use request, by Summer Patel. About one. Here's what it said arrested, I found arrested, 1101 North Highland, a lot of residential use in a CI zone. Right? And I got residential use already at 7. All right, Grace, 1501 Grace Street, October 16th here, RX, current zoning RX 50, and they want to go to RM 18.
And what is that?
This is, application for rezoning from RX 50 to RM 18. You're not applicable, Euclidean, and it's by Poseidon Development, James Lasada and Giselle Motor agent.
Okay, does that mean they're gonna put two apartments?
Mr. Rasir can tell you more about that.
RM 18 is just residential multifamily, 18 units to the acre, whereas RS 50 is 50-foot frontage. I don't know how big the lot is though, so it's tough to say how many they put there. But they're gonna change it to an RM 18, then, you know, you just have to see how big the lot is, so 5,000 square foot lot.
Usually rezonings come with a elevation and a site plan, so you would have to go in the Stella and pull that out to see what it's going to look like.
But basically, they're gonna go from a single family house to multiple.
Yes.
Correct?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to find out.
Yeah, ain't no multiple family.
Like it'd be one, but it's two sides.
It could be townhouse, it could be, yeah, it could be a whole bunch of things. It's just because RS 50 usually is a single family house.
Or it could be they did not build the initial house was not built, maximize the capacity of the zoning, and they're trying to do it now.
Okay,
No, this is a house.
appreciate that. The next one is, that's it, Ms. Johnson? The next one is, the next one is 3108 West Dewey Street. They're doing a lot split, and it's Mosley's Communities and Victory Homes. It's an application for formal decision. And then I get this weird letter from the Interstate Historic Preservation Trust Fund grant program. And they're gonna be taking, the program is currently accepting applications on October 1st, 2025 at 3 p.m. Exterior restoration, rehabilitation, at least 7% of the project scope must involve exterior, blah, blah, blah. Funding offered to owners of properties that were constructed over 75 years ago, West Tampa, Tampa Heights, Ybor City, National Register of Historic. The property must be the legal homestead and residence of the applicant. Euclidean zoning, IG to RM 24, at 1541 LaSalle, C. Keith. And the agent's address is 1322 Grace Street, but this is that.
Yeah, that's all.
1541 West LaSalle. And then there were two letters, the same letter, 1541. So then I got, a PD residential single family semi-detached, 2 PD residential single family semi-detached, at 2539 West Cherry Street, by Evan Wang. And then I got, PD, this is the same one from Evan Wang. No, it's at 2704 West Palmetto Street, right down the street. PD residential single family semi-detached, PD residential single family semi-detached, Mr. Evan Wang. And then finally, I got two left. There's one at 4207 North Pine Riverview Avenue, split current lot into 2 separate lots. Julie DeVille is an application for formal decision. And finally, residential multifamily, RM 16 plan development PD for storefront residential CG uses at 2109, 2111, 2113 West Northeast Street. Okay, and after is Azam Ishli. That's all I have for, stuff that was sent to me. I'm sorry to keep you late tonight, but you know, I'm very passionate about, houses to low income people because it ain't enough of it. And I'm very passionate about these areas and very passionate about getting us more, like we got an overlay district, we got a CRA. I want to have opportunity zones and in the core of the CRA. And I want to have like the Western Business District expanded so it covers more of the CRA. So the developer, right, the city comes here, they have a lot of options. Leverage money, work with us, and then we can come up with programs, because this really should be like the filter. Like we see things that will help us not allow the gentrification to occur, we need to try to fund to stop it. And one way you stop gentrification is you never let the people that I say in. You never let them leave the neighborhood they're in. So once they leave the neighborhood, that ungentrified. You get me? So the whole idea is to keep people here, even if they rent, you want to keep them here, so they here. Once you let them go, you done gentrified. And with that, and present nothing else, nobody, I'm just gonna throw it together with Ms. Jones.
Just got one question. What is it enough density? Because I think we have enough.
Oh, Ms. Jones, now you finna have another argument about density. I mean, well, let me just tell you, I tell you exactly where it's at. Okay, I'm gonna tell you where it's at. Now, I'll tell you where it's really at. It's really at, your corridor. And this is one of the things that, we stopped them from a case, our vice chair went down and spoke on it about that high density in our historic district and how it would, like Mr. Gritter saying, destroy our fabric. And what they're doing is they're trying to match it up with the mobility, match it up with the transportation corridors. And the main one is Boulevard, expecting when, Oakhurst gets knocked down here in the next year or so, expect that to go 5 to 6 stories up in the sky. Okay, and that's where they want to put high density all up and down Boulevard.
You can't even get down the street. I
know, I'm just telling you where it gets there. They talk about down Amelia, down how all your major transportation arterials, and that is something that I was vice chair being a civil engineer sort of slowed down a little bit. And they say, well, you're planning on, well, we're gonna have you don't have the transportation to move. And so how you gonna have all this high density? And then look, they say, well, if you put the density, we don't spend any money on transit around here. So how we gonna do high density? I don't know. It's a problem in Tampa. Everybody know in Tampa, Florida. It's hard to get around and everybody don't have a car. That's why you have all the cars parked all on the right of way, But if it ain't no more.
Motion to adjourn.
No, don't do the motion.
They give you your houses?
And you got it.
Okay.